This is his power play.
Okay. Right. Okay, can everyone see the slideshow? Or see a photo at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So this was the culmination of the camp. You can see all the students standing here with the antennas that they built, wearing their DX engineering hats. And of course, there's our Mercer County Amateur Radio Club banner proudly displayed. This was just a great moment, capturing a week of a lot of work, but also a lot of satisfaction and joy that we got from working with these kids all week long. So the first night we opened up with mostly classroom-based activities. We talked about what is amateur radio, what is electromagnetic radiation. Dave had a good talk on the history of the science behind amateur radio and how we came to discover the properties of electromagnetism and then ultimately use them for communication. We had a fun activity that first night. We had a big long cord in one of the high school hallways and we demonstrated waves using that and it worked surprisingly well. So we were able to show them how to effectively change frequency and then of course wavelength based on how they manipulated the cord down the hall. And it was a great illustration of that. First night, we also distributed all the materials and the radios to the kids. So each student took home a Texon PL600 shortwave single sideband receiver, which is a very nice radio. And they also took home a Belfang UV5R, which Al N8GUI graciously programmed for us. And those were all pre-programmed to local repeaters, weather stations. And Tommy sent us a file with all of the satellite frequencies in a chirp file. And Al was able to use that, add some local stuff to it, and pre-program those transceivers for the kids. Now, of course, transmit was disabled on everything because Liam was the only one who was licensed at this point. But they got that equipment into their hands. They took that home with them. DX Engineering donated grid square maps and ham radio, Word Silver's Ham Radio for Dummies book as well. So these kids went home with lots and lots of goodies, and hopefully it will really inspire them to continue pursuing the hobby. So Tim spoke the first night, Dave spoke the first night, I spoke a little bit the first night. Barney did an introduction to frequency and wavelength. And then Carol gave an introduction to the phonetic alphabet and call signs and licensing. So we kind of got a lot of the teaching components out of the way the first night so that we could focus on more hands-on activities for the rest of the week. What was great is the local news media showed up the first night we were there. So WKBN came and did a wonderful story on the camp. And these are all screenshots from WKBN's news story. So if you'd like, Tim, if we haven't already, we should probably link that on the club's website so everyone can access the news story. But there's some screenshots. They interviewed me for a few minutes, and here's Tim teaching. And there's my daughter, Olivia, checking out her radio. And
Josh, that link and all the pictures are on the newsletter.
Oh, great. Thanks, Tom. Thanks. So the second day, Tommy arrived and I picked him up from the airport and we got started, jumped in the deep end with both feet. And that first night we gave the kids the shortwave receivers and the antennas, and we sent them on a shortwave listening scavenger hunt. And they had a list of things they had to find: different countries, a music station, a religious broadcast, an amateur radio exchange, Morse code, the atomic time clock, and so on and so forth. And so they got out into the parking lot, strung their wire antennas up into trees, and each of us worked with a group and helped them start exploring this hidden world out there called radio. So here's Alex. He set his group up in the bed of his truck, and they strung their antenna up into a tree over a fence. And I think they were able to pick up a phone QSO with between somebody here in the States and somebody in Slovakia, which the kids were just amazed by. Here's Tommy's group. They were working on one of these retaining walls, and this is the dad, Wayne, on the far left, and he was excited and enthusiastic and helping as well. Here's Dave's group, and they heard a couple of stations. I think they picked up a shortwave station from Cuba. One of the groups, I think it was my daughter Olivia, actually picked up a station from the Voice of Iran broadcast, which was pretty cool. There's Alex with his group again. Alex said we should have trained the adults on how to use the receivers before we sent them off with the kids. But,
they had a little finicky.
yeah, they were. The BFO for sideband was very, very sensitive, so it was a little difficult to get used to. But you figured it out, right, Alex? So that first night, Tommy also was able to demonstrate some satellite communication using his Arrow antenna that he brought with him. And so here's everyone gathered out in the parking lot. And Tommy was able to actually demonstrate a satellite QSO. And that really, I think, wet their whistles for what they were going to build and what they were going to experience later in the week. Tommy also did some teaching that first night on satellite communication in particular and some of the lingo in satellite work. And we started building the antennas at the very end of the first night, and the electricity went out. There was a storm that moved through, I guess, and we were without power for the rest of the night. So we opened up all the windows in the science lab, and we did the best we could under dim lighting conditions. But the kids did great, and they were able to start assembling the boom on the antennas, and I think they started fastening some of the pipe clamps or hose clamps as well. So here's a picture of Tommy again doing a QSO, and Carol was transcribing some of the call signs that were coming through as he was working them. And then the next night, we actually got into building the antennas in earnest. And here you can see Alex built a wooden jig for cutting the elements to specific lengths and brought it with him. And Alex generously prepared all of these materials in advance and actually donated all the materials to the camp. So we're super thankful to everything Alex did to make this possible. It certainly made everything much, much easier to not have to cut the PVC and everything while we were there. It just sped things along quite a bit. Here's Dave working with one of the students. And, here's Braxton, one of the students. He's working on sanding the paint off of his driven element, and then he would bring it over. The students would bring it over to Tim and Carol, who manned a soldering station, and they soldered the feed line onto the driven element. So we had a pretty good rhythm going where kids would work on specific aspects of their antennas at each station, and the soldering was the final step. So here's Tommy demonstrating some of the features of the antenna, including the ability to fold back those elements into the PVC for portability. And we noted in our QST article that one of the things we would do differently is the tape measures pieces were sharp, and we did notch off the edges and cover them in electrical tape, but they were still very sharp. And when you have a dozen kids out in the parking lot all waving around their antennas, it's an accident waiting to happen. So if there's some alternative that we could use in place of the tape measures or some way to make them safer, we had talked about maybe heat shrinking them or Plastidip or something like that. It might be better for safety purposes. But Alex was adamant and the kids were compliant that safety gear be worn at all times, and the kids did a great job doing that for us. Except for Braxton here, who has his goggles lifted up on his head instead of over his eyes. But Alex is here helping him make the final tweaks on his antenna. And so then they took them out in the parking lot, and we were so fortunate to have satellite passes at just the right times while we were doing the camp. The camp was only 2 hours each night. And boy, we had the Saudi sat pass and we had an ISS pass right in that window. It was just perfect. So we brought them, after they assembled their antennas, we brought them out into the parking lot, and they got ready to hear the ISS on its pass over us. Of course, they couldn't transmit because they're not licensed, but they were at least able to listen to other people making QSOs over the ISS. This is probably one of my favorite pictures because, you know, here's the kids pointing their antennas to the sky, and Alex is Elmering in the background. All the DX engineering hats are abundant. It's just a great photo of what we experienced this week. Here's Wayne and his son Carter, and Wayne's transcribing, listening for those call signs coming through. And I thought I would share with you here at the end a couple of screenshots too of the students that were in the astronomy camp in the subsequent week got treated with a talk from Angel Vasquez, the director of telescope operations at Arecibo. And he was so gracious with us, and the students in that camp did optical astronomy for most of the week, but all but one had attended the radio camp the previous week, so they all had their shortwave receivers. So we decided to build a 21 megahertz or 20.1 megahertz antenna for listening to Jupiter's radio emissions. And so the students were able to talk to someone who works in radio astronomy and is also an amateur radio operator, and then also build an antenna for that purpose. And so here's the kids holding their shortwave receivers and their 20.1 megahertz antennas for picking up Jupiter's radio emissions. So it was a great follow-up to the camp that we did the first week. So that's my slideshow. I'm going to turn it over to Tommy to talk about some of the technical aspects of the antenna build, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so this workshop, when we started planning it, the very first thing is, you know, the kind of the reason I was even invited in to help with this was because of the satellite aspect of it. So the very first thing that I did was I got on software that comes, it's free of charge, called WinAOS. Stands for Acquisition of Signal. And you can do satellite pass predictions with that. There's plenty of other pass prediction software out there. gPredict is usually my go-to. A lot of satellite operators will use SAT PC32. But I was able to put in the dates of the workshop, look at the window, the blocks of time, the windows of time that the workshop was going to be going for, and then start to figure out, okay, how high are these satellite passes, et cetera. So I came up with a list of possible passes that we might have going into it. So I knew going into that week, the general idea of what we were going to do. And as Josh said, we were fortunate that the easy sets, the FM satellites, we had some good passes during those times. Those being Saudi sat. We had there was an AO27 pass also, and then the ISS. The ISS is a special satellite because it's so powerful. As you all have probably heard, the onboard the space station is a Kenwood radio, and they use that for talking back to Earth as part of the ARIS program, talking with schools and clubs that sign up for that program through ARIS and liaise through NASA. But the signal coming out of the ISS is so incredibly strong. What I say is it's so loud that it really doesn't matter what antenna you use. I mean, if you're the crummy rubber duck. It's not even rubber, it's plastic. They're crummy rubber duck that comes with the Baofeng. They're horrible antennas. They might get you across the parking lot if conditions are right. But that's sufficient to hear the ISS. So I knew we were going to be successful on that front, hearing the ISS when it came over. The space station has been in a crossband repeater mode, so it acts a lot like a normal, quote unquote, a normal AMSAT satellite, so that you transmit up on one frequency and down on another. The way the ISS is currently set up is that it's VHF up and UHF down. And so that meant that the 2-meter tape measure Yagis that we had the kids constructing was not quite the right band for it, but I knew the signal was so loud they were going to be successful regardless. So even if they didn't follow our directions, they were still going to have the thrill of hearing the space station on their antennas. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint that I was using. Let me see here. I got too many screens open on my end. Here we go. So, in fact, I'll start that up. Is that showing the PowerPoint there for you? So this is the kind of opening slide. I've used this PowerPoint for quite a while when talking to other clubs, and so I figured it was suitable for the kids also. It does. It is geared for a ham audience, but I was able to go through and explain some of these satellites and really get in their heads that these are teensy tiny little satellites. Just, when most people think of a satellite, they think of something like, the size of a car, and it's really not the case, particularly with the CubeSats. Most of the ham sats are about this size, shown here on the screen. And then the joke for hams that it's the satellite, a repeater. It's a repeater in the sky, and a satellite is a horrible place to run a net, just because it's rarely available to you. It's low power. You have to have directional antenna. It's crossband. It's all the problems of a repeater that you wouldn't want to have on a terrestrial repeater. But the great benefit is that its extreme height makes it accessible to all of North America from wherever you are, and beyond. So there are two types of satellites. There's VHF up and UHF down, or vice versa. That is noted in whatever documentation you're looking at for satellites. You do need you need some high gain antennas to hit them. So generally you go with a Yagi like the Arrow that you saw in Josh's pictures. The Yagi that we built was a 2-meter Yagi, or you need like a log periodic that will work for both bands. Most hams do have dual bands, like these little Baofengs the kids had. And then of course we referred that to this Kent Britton's design, where you can make it out of coat hangers and a wooden dowel rod. Doesn't take super specialized stuff. People think it's specialized, but it's not. And that's kind of my shtick with ham radios. I want to demystify a lot of stuff. And I'd say that that's kind of my educational philosophy across the spectrum, be it computer science, robotics, electronics, or radio. It seems, magic and hard and technical, but it's really not. Once you get into it, you realize that, oh, this is just a satellite. It's just crossband. It's just, and that whole just a mentality makes learning really accessible to a lot of people. If you think it's hard and you think it's beyond you, then you're putting yourself in a rut. But if you think, oh, it's just then you can tackle it, no problem. There are, like I said, there are do-it-yourself antennas. Bottom left is an antenna design I made years ago. It was on the website Hackaday. The top one is the one of those cheap Yagis from Kent Britton. It's a crossband. And then the one on the right is actually the finished design of the tape measure Yagis that we were using with the kids. There are two different types of satellites. I talked about the easy sets. There's also linear transponder satellites. There's more stuff to try and juggle with those. Those are harder, but the best starting point is the FM satellites. You do have to account for Doppler. We talked about this with as hams are coming into the hobby. It's on your technician test, but really, what is it? Like, it's just kind of this vague abstract idea on the test until you work a satellite. And then it's just, oh, that's what the deal is. And especially if you do like one of the linear satellites, or if you can hit it, there's a couple of CW satellites that transmit their data CW, and you can actually hear the tone higher in frequency and dropping as it's much more pronounced. Like I said, there's different software to hit the birds. Bottom right corner is Mark Spencer, Whiskey 8 Sierra Mike Radio, I think. Sierra Mike Alpha, I believe. Anyways, he started the Teachers Institute that has really helped me grow in my technical understanding and whatnot. And that's an automated satellite tracker that he had built, cobbled together out of parts. Weird, wild stuff. We did talk to the kids about azimuth, your compass heading, and how you have to figure that out, and you have to figure out the elevation. When you're talking about tracking something in 3 dimensions, this comes apparent in astronomy, where it's not enough to say, oh, it's over there. Well, over there is relative to wherever you are. And I guess so is azimuth and elevation, but it's much more exacting than just saying over there or to your right and up. It's a much more exacting, so you can get right there on it. To that end, this is what a lot of the satellite tracking apps and software show you. And again, this is a skill that comes up in astronomy and with satellites, or really tracking any celestial object whatsoever. This particular graphic that I have on here was done right at celestial noon over at Thames Place. And you can see right there on the chart, kind of just to the bottom of the crosshairs, you see the shape of the moon and then the black circle, which represents the sun. So the sun and the moon were almost directly overhead with this. The way you read this is the outer circle on this one is 0 degrees. So that's your horizon, less any obstacles or obstructions. The next ring in is 30 degrees up. The next ring, which you would think of as the inner ring, is 60 degrees up. And then lastly, that crosshair right at the very center is directly above you at 90 degrees. So if anything passes within that inner circle, that's what we consider a high satellite pass. It's something high in your sky. You're looking really steeply up. And this graphic also is really helpful because starting here, we can talk about, okay, point to 0 degrees. You hold your arm out straight ahead. What's 90 degrees? Point your arm straight up. So where's 45? Well, it's halfway in between. So 30 degrees would be a little below that, a third of the way up, right? And then above that halfway point, about halfway up there, is going to be 60 degrees. So 2/3 of the way up. And so that gives you a really good estimation of these degrees when you're talking about things. So it gives you it's just a kind of a ballpark when you're getting in there, but it allows you to then read these kind of graphics that come out of the satellite prediction software. So this satellite app, this screenshot coming off of it would show a satellite coming from the south. You can see that at the bottom. South is designated at the bottom there. And at 7:10, it was going to be coming off the horizon. At about 7:14, it was passing that 30 degree mark, which is about the time that most newbies into satellites would be able to hear it. At 7:16 is when it crosses that 60 degree mark. And then it passes within 60 degrees, and then it starts to fade off towards the north before fading off just almost to the due north, but just west of the due north. Another satellite pass that I was looking at, this is a relatively low one. This is interesting about this one is that the lower the satellite, the further you can contact someone. If it's directly over you, that's nice and it's easy to hit, but what a lot of the real hardcore satellite operators and the grid chasers, folks that are trying to contact all grid squares in the US, what they look for are the low ones, because that's going to really reach out really, really far. There's even been folks that have been able to work transatlantic satellite passes, and they're using ones that are very, very low on the horizon. And if both operators are doing it really low on the horizon, they're able to reach around the curvature of the Earth. And then this is another low one, this one to the south. It begins in the southwest, progresses to its really its highest elevation right due south, and then fades off to the southeast. Very low on the horizon on this one. This one's actually orbiting pretty close to the equator on that one. I mentioned grid squares. This is something we were able to talk with the kids about. It always seems so foreign to most hams coming into the hobby. What are these grid squares? I hear about them on my technician exam, but what are they? And when you understand that this is where I'm located, this is where you're located, it's better than saying, I'm currently, I'm in the Houston area. And if I was to tell you my grid square, I'm in Echo Mike 20. So you look on the grid square here and you can start to try to figure out that Echo Mike 20, let me see if I get my pointer option here. Can I get my pen there? So Echo Mike 20 is where I'm located. And then I believe we're in, you're in, is it 91? Did we just cross the line where you guys are, Josh? So right there in 91. So instead of saying I'm in Ohio, how, that's not very specific. Just like if I say, well, I'm in Texas. Well, that's not really that's a horrible Texas. That's not really specific enough. So that's where the grid squares come in. But the challenge is, if you're going to try and talk to all 50 grid squares, then you got these little tiny pieces of a grid square, like over here in Delta Mike 03. Just a little tiny corner, just barely touches it. I think Charlie Mike 86 is another one that just barely touches some land right there in the corner. Key West down here has, not many folks live there not many hams live there, except for folks that go down there. So grid squares really help you learn your geography and figure out where folks live, because this next map is a kind of a heat map, and it shows what grid squares are most active. This one comes from Gridmaster. He's on YouTube. On Twitter, and updates these weekly, showing what grid squares are most rare and which ones are most common. And the most common ones are obviously in your metro area. Over here in Arizona, you've got your Tucson and Phoenix grid square here. Here in the Houston area, very popular. Dallas also. So any of the kind of major metro areas. What I was actually worried about was hams in the Pittsburgh or Cleveland area, kind of knocking us, stepping over us on those two grid squares. But anyway, so the grid square thing is a fascinating way to start to explore what Ham Radio has to offer whenever you are just a technician. Getting on satellites doesn't require anything special other than just some hardware, and you can make that hardware largely on your own. Becomes very, very simple to do it that way. Satellite QSOs go very quickly. So I might say, just get on the bird, and I'd say N5 DUX, and then somebody come back and N5 DUX, this is Kilo 8 Yankee Sugar Echo November 9-1. I would hear that and say Kilo 8 Yankee Sugar Echo November 9-1, copy Echo Mike 22 or wherever I'm located. And then they would say, okay, thank you for Echo Mike 22 73, Kilo 8 Yankee Sugar Echo 73, N5 DUX, QRZ, just like I'd be doing with the HF pileup. So that's as quick as a QSO is, because you have to get out of the way because the next person is right there ready to go. Someone may have heard Kilo 8 Yankee Sugar Echo and wants to contact them, or they're ready to go to work you. So unless people are really coming back for you, you may not even have time to say QRZ. But satellite QSOs it's those real fast, contest style exchanges where you're just trying to give the minimum exchange, and that is grid squares, what we exchange on satellites. That didn't play there. So that's kind of a run through of the stuff that we expose the kids to. On the, I was going to pull up on the tape measure design, what we did was, I'll share this screen also, put all of the design into a simple web page that you can use. And I put some pictures on here for each of the steps. So laid out all the parts that we needed. I talked through that with Alex and kind of went back and forth about best place to source different parts and whatnot, what tools were needed. It does require a lot of specialized tools, but for anyone getting into it, you could go to Harbor Freight, pick up a lot of questionable quality tools, but do it on the cheap, and get a lot of it done on your own. So and I just realized that I didn't put a solder gun on my tools needed. I just put solder. So the stuff that you need to do this, very simple. PVC cutters if you're just doing one. Chop saw, I think, is what Alex said he used on his to zip through a bunch of PVC. The lengths of PVC that you need are all laid out. that varies by frequency. So if you're going to do a 2 meter, it's of a certain length. We did talk about doing a 440 UHF after after the die had already been cast. That was something that dawned on me kind of last minute. I'm like, why are we doing 2 meter? That was just what we had started with, because that's what I had built with my high school students in the past. But if I was to do this again, I would probably look for doing a UHF. Reason being that most satellite downlinks are on UHF, and it's also instructive because on the UHF is where Doppler is more pronounced. So as an educational experience, then you're going to be able to get more into it. But you cut the PVC apart, as you saw in the pictures. Cutting the tape measure is probably the most fun for the kids, because they're taking something that is useful, a tape measure, and then taking it and destroying it with for another purpose. And it's like, this is something I can destroy. The other fun thing is when you cut off the little tab on the end of the tape measure, when you've pulled all the tape measure out of it, you can let the spring go and it zips back in there. We had what do you say, Josh, about 3 kind of Mazel Tov moments of letting it zip around in there. Kids seem to have a lot of fun with that. Once you've got that, you also saw one of the kids sanding the tape measure. You get the tape taken off of that. Then they took it to Tim. Tim and Barney had a soldering station set up in the back, and brush on a little flux, get the tape measure heated up, and then get some solder on there to kind of tin it. There's a hairpin match that is what helps bring the impedance down on this antenna. And so you can bend that around the PVC pipe to kind of make the hairpin shape, soldering it onto the 2 tips of the tape measures on the driven element, and then soldering the feed line onto that. As for the director and reflector, those are just single solid lengths that go all the way through. They're not cut in the middle as the directed element is. This image kind of shows that best. So here's the feed line going to the feed point with the hairpin match, and then the director and the reflector down here at the top and bottom going right through, and then being held on with those hose clamps. Once all that's together, then it's just a matter of pushing all the PVC together. They're not glued together. It's just kind of pressure fit that's sufficient. To act as a strain relief, we put some zip ties on them here, cutting them flush, and then DX Engineering donated some little Velcro, pull away Velcro to help keep the feed line nice and handy. I've always used like the little Velcro straps on here to keep mine secure. The other thing that I told the kids that I stressed to them is make sure you put your name or initials on them, putting them on the short piece of handle down at the bottom, just a little leftover scrap or something, because they all come out looking very, very, very similar. You might be able to tell yours apart based on the numbers that you start and stop with your elements, but it's just easier to label them. They also fold up, as you saw in the picture. I showed the kids how to fold those elements into the PVC there, but and then there's the security, the safety issue of waving these things around. So if you got too many people in a close space and they're waving a bunch of cut raw edge tape measures, that can be a little precarious at times. So that's really the activity portion of what we did with the kids. Again, we had some lessons learned. We were talking about, if we were to do this in the future, what would we change? What went well? What could be improved upon? And I was tickled to death, come up, hang out with the kids and see them get excited about this, work the satellites, and just, see them kind of light up with doing all, seeing that it is attainable. It's not some kind of black magic or something beyond them.
It was tremendous, Tommy. Thanks so much for coming up, and thanks for being here this evening as well.
Yeah.
You and Josh were a great team, and along with Dave, just had really. Josh, you want to talk a little bit about some of the camps that you have done in the past? I think this is the 4th year, Josh, for you doing camps.
Yep, this is our 4th year, and these have all been funded with a federal grant. So the first year we did it's essentially an 8-bit computer, but powered by a microcontroller. So we used Arduinos, and the kids built little computers with a little OLED display, and they could hook a keyboard up to it. But it had a basic interpreter on there, and so they could type in programs, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and they did some basic electronics too, so they were able to turn on or off an LED with basic commands. They were able to read input from a joystick, so it was pretty neat. The second year we did the BBC microbit. I know Tommy has worked with those. This was a small device with a microcontroller that the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, produced in the UK. And those are really neat because they have lots of integrated sensors, and they have a small LED matrix, but even has Bluetooth. So that year we were able to introduce, there it is. We were able to introduce the students to some radio by transmitting and receiving Bluetooth signals, and they actually made a battleship game, so they could, basically manipulate a cursor on the screen and then fire and see if they hit someone's ship, and that was all transmitted by Bluetooth. So that was pretty cool. Then last year was, of course, during the pandemic, so we scaled way back, and we just did a 1-day workshop, and they built crystal radios, and that was a lot of fun. We did that outdoors in the parking lot. And then, of course, this year was the satellite camp, and we also did a Raspberry Pi camp this year, and we did the astronomy camp. So we were busy for 2 weeks.
Do you have any more camps this summer, Josh?
No, we're done for this year, but we're looking forward to next year, and hopefully we can bring Tommy back next year again.
It's a good combination. And certainly Tommy's enthusiasm, and Josh, yours, and Dave is infectious to the kids. They see that you're excited and fired up, and I think that really plays well. Tommy, can you talk a little bit about what you've done? You've been up at ARRL headquarters and working with other teachers. Talk about the Teachers Institute and what all goes into that.
Yeah, so the ARRL Teachers Institute, full name I believe is the Teachers Institute on Wireless Technology, mouthful. So it's a free for teachers, for classroom teachers from across the country. It's a kind of a competitive application process. Teachers will explain what courses that they teach, what classes they teach, how long they've been teaching, how long do they continue to be teaching is a question we've had to add. We had some teachers coming through that they would attend and then leave the classroom the next year. Like, well, I'm retiring. We're like, well, why are you here? But it's a great program that teachers will, their travel is paid for by the league. It's a donation driven. So it doesn't come out of the general fund. These are funds that are earmarked specifically for this program. Teachers come in, and when I was in the classroom, when I attended, it was like Christmas morning for nerds. I loved walking in and seeing this pile of stuff. Things that we would get are like little robots like this, so we can learn to program microcontrollers. This one has the brain that Josh was just talking about, the little microbit. You learn some programming with this. We've transitioned to Python now with the program. You learn a little bit of breadboarding and with this robot, you build little circuits on here so that you get LEDs is the first thing you start off with, blinking to LED blink, and then moving into infrared, and then the ways that you can read sensors, with the expectation that teachers would then go on and join the Teachers Institute 2. The TI2 used to focus on satellites, but through several technical challenges or whatever, that's transitioned to doing APRS. So using APRS to send data back and forth from a robot to the APRS network, and then to be able to pull those packets off and retrieve your data. Showing that ham radio can be that link when you go beyond the length of however long your little cable is. How do I do things wirelessly? Also included in there, we get into basic electronic components as part of that, the breadboarding. We talk about HF operating. We talk about satellite operation, ways to integrate amateur radio into the classroom to teach whatever it is that you're teaching in the classroom. I think one of the great things about the program is it's almost like a meta workshop, because you have teachers from all over the country that are coming in with different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different challenges within their classroom. And so it's teachers helping teachers, teachers that all the conversations revolve around amateur radio. I mean, when we step back from the hobby itself and look at amateur radio as a pursuit, it's a very small slice of the population. Tim, you and I were talking about that when I was up, about how small the ham population is as a slice of the general population. How many of those hams then are classroom teachers? Far fewer. So it's a very, very select few. But when you reach and connect with other ham educators, it really grows. And so it's all about equipping teachers to integrate amateur radio into the classroom. I did that with my kids. I was teaching a telecommunications class, and I looked at the state standards the schools wanted me to teach, and I was like, this is great, but I can teach that concept using amateur radio. That would be easier for me because I understand the content. And so it's just taking that idea and sharing it with other teachers. Stop what you're doing and look at what it is that you're teaching. Can you teach that with amateur radio in a more realistic or tangible way? Yes, amateur radio is not, or the radio waves aren't always tangible, but you can make it real through radio. So that program is a wonderful program. I attended it 11 years ago, I believe, when I was in the classroom, and was asked, I want you, I was told by that Mark Spencer, I want you to be one of our instructors. And so then ever since I've been doing it, it's been, one of my pleasures in amateur radio. I told my wife at the end of it one year, I was like, I love doing this. This is so much fun. And she's like, well, maybe you can do something like that year round for your job. And I was like, yeah, but who's going to pay a bunch of hams to sit around and play ham radio for all year long? I now work with a group that does something similar to that. We actually use the same robots that the Teachers Institute does. And it's just, as Tim said, I'm really passionate about it. And it's a real joy to get in there. And I still get to talk about ham radio with teachers all across the way. And without fail, I come across hams that are in the classroom. They're like, oh, N5DUX, and they'll give me their call. And other teachers are like, what are you guys, what code is this you're talking? So a lot of fun to have to meet up with fellow educators.
So Josh, you got some of the feedback from the students. You just went through 3 camps. Talk about some of the student stories, Josh.
Yeah, so that's probably, from my perspective, one of the most interesting aspects of this. I mean, of course, my own children were there, but I think I've communicated this to the club before. Youngstown has been consistently ranked the highest concentration of children living in poverty per capita in the United States of America, if you can believe that. 8th most segregated public school border. One of the worst food deserts per capita in the country, and it's right here across the state line. And of course, the public school district has been in academic and fiscal distress for the last 15 years. So we didn't just do a camp. We did a camp in a very high need community for students who, just by virtue of where they live, are disadvantaged. And that makes this all the more rewarding, I think. So the kids had just a great experience. We did a little poll by hand of how many plan to get licensed, and I think almost every student raised their hand. They enjoyed it so much, and hopefully they'll follow through on that. In fact, we even thought about doing a special VE session just for the kids that were in the camp, maybe in late July, mid to late July. Some of them want to get licensed now. I think probably Wayne and his boys will take a test on field day. So, but very good feedback. I think one of the best parts for the kids was building something with their own hands, which they don't get an opportunity to do often. If you think about it, comprehensive high schools have all but disappeared. So they don't take shop class or home ec or any of those things that they used to do. They're in traditional academic classes all day long, and even science labs, I think, aren't nearly as fun as they used to be. Listen to me, I sound like a curmudgeon, but here they actually got to build something. They got to use tools, they got to construct something that they can use. And for some of them, I'm sure it was the first time they had the opportunity to do that. So that was another great benefit of this. This wasn't just theory, and it wasn't just using, they got some tech that was manufactured in China. There's no doubt about it. But they also got to build something to go with that tech, and that was a new experience for them. They're used to using their Xboxes and their iPads and their iPhones to communicate with their friends. What they're not used to is building something that works.
That was something that we talked about, Josh, was that, the kids are so often, it's generational, I guess, it's to some degree, like you said, but instead of being consumers, they're able to be doers and generators, creating something that's new instead of just receiving and thinking this is made by them.
Right.
Whoever they are. It's always somebody beyond, the normal human circles that they see. But it brings it down to their level and says, oh, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, Josh, there was an interesting sub story, as there always is. The first night Braxton wasn't there. He was at football practice.
Right.
And I guess football practice is every night.
Yeah, conditioning. They're technically conditioning in the summertime.
Right. So tell the story of what happened after the first night with Braxton.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. So he saw the news story on WKBN and said, I was interested in this, but I didn't think I could go because I had football conditioning. And then I saw the news story and I decided I wanted to skip conditioning this week and come to your camp instead. Can I still come? And I said, absolutely. Be there at 6 o'clock tomorrow and we'll get you set up. And we did. So that is definitely a cool story, Tim.
Yeah. And he was there and he was so happy, and you could see, the passion in his eyes.
Yeah.
It was one of those magic moments when he was working with Alex.
Yep.
And he had the goggles on and he was just going to town. And when he would hear something, Josh, you talked a lot about heart that week. And, we all have a lot of things that go on in our lives, but the ability to give back like that is good for the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thank you for involving so many members of the Mercer County Club in this. And we certainly look forward to whatever you and Dave and Tommy cook up for next year.
Thank you, Tim. I don't know if, is Alex still on? Is he still here?
Yep. I see him.
Yeah, there he is.
Do you want to say anything, Alex, since you were there?
Teaching is its own reward. Can you hear me, Josh?
Yeah, it's a little sketchy, but
Can anybody hear me? Yeah. Teaching is its own reward. I got as much from teaching the kids as they got from me. And the other thing is, I think it's catastrophic that we don't teach children how to use tools. Tools, it ain't all about plugging a USB port in. It's about fixing things. The tool users build the world. That's the issue. But I had a great time. Tommy made fun of me, but it was okay. Because I kept emailing him every 5 minutes about, hey, do we need this? Do we need that? Do we have this? Should we do this?
It was good.
But I had a great time. I certainly will do it next year.
Yeah, I think so. And Josh, you get a kind of a behind the scenes reaction too, because your two daughters were in these camps. And what insights did they have?
Well, I've been jogging their elbows to get licensed for a while now. And, it's one thing coming from dad, but it's another thing seeing your friends participate and get interested. And so it was positive peer pressure for them to see their friends actually excited about this nerdy thing that dad is into. And I think it's gonna be the catalyst for them as well to get licensed.
So do you think they're going to be working with Linda and Mike during field day to take a test?
Possibly Maria. Yeah, Maria might be ready to do it. So we'll see.
Good. Well, she's got one of the best teachers in the whole world there. So
should we entertain a question or two? I know we're almost out of time.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Josh and Tommy?
I was going to say too that we had a kid when we were going outside for our final pass and everybody's walking out with their antennas. He was there waiting for a pickup. Mom was coming to pick him up or something. And he was like, he's just kind of looking, just confused. And I said, we're about to go out and listen to the space station. And he's like, you can do that?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, come on, let's show you. And so I gave him a real quick run through of what we had talked about previously. And he was enthralled.
About a question for Tommy. No, go ahead, Tom.
I have a question. If I bring my Baofeng, can we get the satellite frequencies or the ISS frequency program on field day?
Yes. Al's the
Absolutely.
expert.
Yeah, Al will be there, so he's the guy.
Okay, looking forward to it.
And Tom, the neat thing that Tommy did is he set up the channels so that it's A, B, C, and D, so that you can account for very easily just going up and down and account for the Doppler shift. So it's already built in that way. So you're just going up and down channels instead of manipulating the frequency to account for that. So
yeah, because the Doppler, if you don't know it, it's about 15 kilohertz above when it's coming at you, and then it drops, and then it's on frequency when it's right over you, and then it keeps going lower by 15 kilohertz. So there's A and B, which maybe it's 5 and 10 kilohertz is what I programmed in. Then you're on frequency, and then drops 5, and then on E is when it's on the lower horizon past you or whatever. But yeah, it is nice because you can just press the up and down arrow to cycle through those.
That's cool.
Another question for Josh and Tommy.
I have a question for Tom.
Yes, Al.
Tommy, when you were showing that chart and showing 90 degrees up, and then when you were showing from south to west, you didn't mention anything about how long that takes, the time. Is it 30 seconds? Is it a minute? Is it 15 minutes?
So let me see here. I'll share this one again? Let's get through to that slide here. That's the last of that. Got on the wrong slide there. But let's see, try that one more time. Share the screen there. There we go. So you can see here on the amount of time. So horizon to horizon, it's about 10 minutes if it's a high pass. If it's just a blip on the horizon, like these, you're not going to have it. It's not going to be as usable as long because you're not going to hear it right on the horizon. Chances are you're going to have some noise, you're going to have some obstructions or whatever really low. So you may only have 5 minutes or so to hit it. 10 minutes if it's a good pass. And then that Doppler shift I've never watched the time. How long does it stay in the 15 kilohertz range? How long is it in the 10 kilohertz range? 5, and then how long is it on frequency? It's a lot of I was gonna say earball. Is that a word? So you're just kind of eyeballing it with your ears to find out, am I on frequency or not? It starts getting scratchy, just like when you're off frequency. So, it's a lot of, there is a little bit of an art to it, but, so about 10 minutes is a good solid pass though.
I had a program on my phone for watching, that would tell you when the space station is overhead.
Yep.
And there was a few times at night I caught it. There was a few times also during the day. And when it was going by, it was like you can only see it for like a minute.
Yeah, that has to do with the geometry, the angle between you, the sun, the space station. But it's rare treats that, if you're ever standing on the beach or something and you can see the space station coming off, you get a full horizon to horizon view. That's pretty amazing. I did want to also plug in that if you have a radio, the space station is going to be transmitting SSTV. I think they're transmitting it this week. Some folks have been sharing online through social media and such. They've got some images downloaded from that. That was actually one of the hopes that we had that week, is instead of doing the crossband repeat on the space station, was the kids were going to hear some slow scan TV broadcasts and then be able to download that using just holding their phone right above the radio. So that's something fun you can do. You don't have to have a specialized antenna with that space station. It's loud enough. You can hear it with anything.
Great. Well, Tommy and Josh, thanks very much for, this has been one of the quickest hours I've been to in a long time. Fascinating subject. And thanks for, you touched the hearts of over a dozen kids here over the past 2 weeks. And Tommy coming up from Houston, and Josh, all the extra time. Congratulations to both of you. And we look forward to next year for the STEM camps and pulling amateur radio into the hearts and minds of our youngsters. So thank you again to both of you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so with that, we will open the meeting. Mike, are you ready? Okay, Mike's ready. Here we go. This is the June meeting of the Mercer County Amateur Radio Club. As president, I hereby call it to order, June 22nd, 2021. And Tom, you always have a surprise. Do you have any sort of any flag that you want to? We can do any flag ceremony here, Tom.
I'm afraid my surprise is I'm here
Okay,
at the beginning.
that's good enough. That's good enough. One of the things we like to focus on is new licensees or upgrades since the last meeting. And so I do know that our very own Al, NHGUY, upgraded last Saturday. Thank you, Mike, for driving home from West Virginia, and the rest of the VE team. Al, NHGUY, now /AG. Congratulations, Al. That's great. And are there any other upgrades or new licensees that we know about? Either Mike, Linda. I guess we don't have any. That's okay. The minutes of the last meeting, which was May 25th, 2021, were sent out to the club reflector by our secretary, Mike, NR3C. Are there any changes, any updates, any corrections to those minutes as published? I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Art, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Jack, thank you. We have you, Jack Sovic. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Barney, K3LA, I think you're here, maybe?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Barney, any comments on the treasurer's report?
No, it was pretty standard. The big
the big thing was that we got a donation from our help in the STEM camp a week or so ago. That was $1,000, and no unusual expenses, and new memberships in the that one donation.
Okay, and thank you to Josh for his work and contributing $1,000 to the MCARC for our help in the STEM camp. Are there any bills to be presented before the club? I'll entertain a motion to approve Barney's report. Corey, thank you. And second, Linda, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, health and welfare, over to you, Linda.
Okay, thanks, Tim. We don't have anything. I know a few people had some health issues in the club and some surgeries and such, but I really haven't heard anything back from them. I assume they're doing okay, but other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, so I know one of those people was Bruce, K3BEG. Bruce, how are you getting along?
Thanks, Tim. It's been a little painful, been a little slow, and I'm kind of rolling around here on my walker, but we're making some progress, and another couple of weeks I ought to be back to normal, I think.
All right, well, we're going to put you on the tower team. And
Okay.
so we want you to be able to go up and down the towers here real soon. Do we know of anybody who is having any health issues? Anybody in the hospital? Okay, that's the best report. Thank you, Linda. And over to you, Linda, for the MCARC sponsored VE team report.
Okay, Tim, yeah, as you mentioned, we just had a VE session on Saturday, which unfortunately I couldn't be a part of because of work. And NAGUI just passed his general, and this Saturday during the field day, I believe we're having a VE session this Saturday. I'm not sure of the time yet. We'll have to get together and see who's all there. And I'm thinking maybe in the afternoon, maybe 1 o'clock, we can start. We'll have to get together and make a final decision, but that is really all I have.
All right, yeah, I would think actually 2 o'clock or 2:30 might even be better for the VE session, because we do have the 3 Elmer programs that will be given by W3YJ, by KJR, and K3KDR at noon. And then at 1 o'clock, it's N2WU. So once field day gets started, it'll be quiet out in the tent, so to speak. But you can do the test session in the barn. We've got a nice table in there. And so that could work out real good. But thank you very much for that update. Linda, VE testing at field day on Saturday. And now over to our Mercer County radio officer and Lawrence County ARES coordinator as well, Mike, NR3C. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Hopefully you can hear me. We had the MS-150 bike-a-thon take place on June 12th. That was at 7:30 a.m. where we started off with the actual race. We were there probably about an hour earlier, and went to about 4:30 p.m. So we had probably about 11 or 12 volunteers from Mercer, Lawrence, and Butler counties. There were no major incidents throughout the bike race. A few people getting off course, but nothing major, no injuries. So it went well. We used the repeater down there in Butler, and some of the SAG people were a little hard to hear sometimes, but we made out well. And there were some stations that had some trouble getting on the air in the beginning. We sent some people out to try to get them remedied in their problem, and we're able to do that. So it was a good learning experience, and I think it was a lot of fun for the people that participated. This Friday, June 25th, is the monthly hospital testing, and that will be at 6:45 p.m. I need people on the list to be able to know who's going to what sites. So at the end of my presentation here with this, you can just pipe in and let me know if you're going to be anywhere. In the event of severe weather happening, try to listen to the repeater 14535. There is going to be a little bit of Skywarn type of activity. Derek, N3TTI, and John, W3JPP, have sort of spearheaded that whole thing with getting Skywarn starting to roll very slowly, but nonetheless starting to roll. Field Day is actually going to be designated as a temporary EOC. That was done by the Director of Mercer County Public Safety, Frank Giannetti. So we thank him for that. And coming up in July, we'll be having an ACS Races Aries meeting. That will be July 14th, 6:30 p.m. And we'll do that via Zoom. I know some people are still recovering from surgeries and people out of town. So Zoom seems to really save the day for that. I think that's about all I have. I'll include the net schedule in the minutes, as I've been doing for quite a few months. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
So, Mike, one thing that the Western Pennsylvania phone traffic net, and it's not the Western Pennsylvania phone and traffic net, it's the phone traffic net. I've been corrected on that.
Yeah, that's actually been changed to a frequency of 3835, I believe.
That's correct.
And that's at 6 p.m. every day.
Yes. So thank you for that. Any questions for Mike? Mike, thanks very much for your service to this county and also to Lawrence County, and great job on all. So let's go on to scouting. Now, Bruce, what's going on with scouting?
Well, there is one development here that has to do with this year's Jamboree on the Air weekend. The last 6 years or so, Jamboree on the Air weekend, the third weekend in October, has fallen on the weekend that we've done the big Cub Scout family camping weekend. We've had 700 or 800 people there at each event. This year they're talking about having an event out at Moraine State Park, and it's going to be smaller than, although reminiscent of the big Campaganza thing they had back in 2010. And they're going to have Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts there, and they're going to invite a couple of the neighboring councils. So we got the opportunity to set up a station for probably several thousand people this year instead of just a few hundred people. So we've got a few months to plan that and put that together, but it should be a real interesting program, I think. Other than that, they're just going through their summer camps, and not a whole lot of other program activities going on yet.
Is that still going to be the third weekend in October?
Yeah, it's the regular October 15th to the 17th. So it is the worldwide Jamboree on the Air.
Thank you, Bruce, for that. And hopefully there are a lot of radio merit badges going on this summer. And certainly if you need counselors to help teach that at any time, let us know, because we never, ever want to have, a Boy Scout that wants to get that merit badge We want to make sure that we do everything we can to help you and everything you do for scouting. Thank you so much. Anybody who is interested and needs the Zoom bridge should contact Corey, our Vice President, W3JL. It's W3JL at w3lif.org. And Corey will get you fixed up if you need to use the Zoom bridge. You know, it doesn't have any time limit to it, and Corey can help coordinate that. With that, over to you, Corey, for membership. Corey, go ahead.
All right. On the membership side of things, we're doing pretty well this year. We currently have 78 members that are active, at least through this year. So good to see that. A good group of people just joined up here not too long ago. So membership drive has been working pretty well. Remember to, you know, your membership helps take care of all the stuff and provide all this, the, you know, repeater and everything else that we have. So keep joining.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking care of that, Corey. And we'll go over to Barney if he's still there, K3LA, for any repeater update.
No real update dates. Got another scheme to try to get the Grove City linked up, but hopefully we can investigate that alternative soon. But that's the only thing new with the repeater as far as I know.
Thank you, Barney. Website, back over to you, Corey.
So the website's doing pretty good. We had a pretty good month last month. This month, we're back kind of to our normal traffic. You will notice now that you will get redirected to a secure site. So before there was a secure site and a regular site, all the traffic now gets redirected to the secure site. And currently the w3jtv.org website is pointing to the w3lif.org website as we're kind of looking at possibly having this transition. So either one of those will go to the same place, and we'll eventually, if and when we get the new call sign, we will transfer over to a new website as well.
Thank you for all the hard work on the website, Corey. It always looks great. And it's nice to be able to tell people, just go to w3lif.org. The information is there, thanks to you and all the hard work that Tom does. And speaking of Tom, a bulletin update, Tom.
The bulletin update. First, I want to pass on in the chat room. I sent up a link to a little site called the ISS Above. I think that will go very nice with what Josh and Tommy had told us. It'll let you see the ISS access and where it is on the planet at any given moment. And it does pass over the repeater site more than what you think. The handout for field day has come along, and we'll have at least 50 very nice, colorful handouts for links about amateur radio. Please check your newsletter. If you don't think you have it, check the trash. Sometimes it gets embedded in there. We sent out 210 newsletters this month. And just a reminder, field day, we are the hosts. I don't know if it's going to show. Wear your call sign badge. We're going to have guests there from Civil Air Patrol and from the STM kids to get them on the air. And we're going to need members that will sit down with them and talk to them and get them on the air. Let's see, what else did I have? There will be some press, I hope, at 2 o'clock on Saturday. At least that's what the indications are. So really the main effort is to meet and greet the kids that come out and the adults that will be with them, and show them what amateur radio is all about. And the pictures courtesy of the TV station are on the newsletter for the activities that have gone on. And I'm hoping that when we do get back to normal and meeting in person, we're at park or wherever, that we will be able to continue the Zoom part, because it sure has been nice to do screen grabs of the action, and it comes out so nice and clear. Thanks to all of you who support the newsletter, especially Corey and Arizona Josh, who backed me up in many ways. Thanks, guys. It's all yours.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, any comments specific to the Civil Air Patrol?
The Civil Air Patrol, is what I know of, is the commander will be there and possibly a cadet and family. That was the last word that I had. There were some conflicting dates and training sessions that were going on. At one point, we expected 6 members, but it's down to 2 or 3 right now.
Good. All right. Thank you, Tom, for that important link and for bringing that in. And I see we do not have N3CM or N3 CGK here. So we will dispense with the net report. We don't have N3CM for library books. Lawrence County, K3BEG, your update for Lawrence County.
I missed the last meeting or so, but I know some of the guys are getting together at the Lawrence County LEOC to do some field day activities down there. I don't know that they've got anything else going on.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Butler County, I see KB3TBT here.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for the use of the Zoom bridge for the PSG group a couple times this week. And both PSG and Becerra are having great field day preparations. And that's about the size of Butler County. And I do apologize for being MCARC, but I can't figure out how to change the name on his tablet.
No problem, Bill. No problem
Okay.
at all. It's great to have you here. And I think this is the first, we've got Mary Ann on video. Is that by mistake?
She's
No.
using the computer that I usually use, and I'm on the tablet at another function, which is rather
Except
sad.
I know how to change names.
Well, thank you very much for your report, Bill and Mary Ann. It's great to see you. So thanks to both of you. Let's go to Mahoning County, and we have both of our Mahoning County guys. We got Jack and Art. So let's start with Jack. What's going on?
Hello, everybody. KBAWPZ here. I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but I did happen to get to the Grand Strand Radio Club meeting last week, and I'm probably going to end up at field day there. So, but it was a good time, good group of people, very interested in the new digitals and things like that. So they're doing some good things, and my good friend Bill Marine was supposed to stop by, but he didn't make it. So we had a good time, and that was really about it. So we had fun.
All right, Jack. Thanks very much for the South Carolina report. Over to Art from Mahoning County. Art, we still don't have any audio. Sorry about that, Art. Go ahead and work on that. We'll come back to you later. And of course, we just had our presentation on STEM, and Venango County is not here tonight. Reminder that breakfast will be at the Globe Restaurant, and that will be that's in Hubbard at 9:45 a.m. this Saturday. We hope to get back to the park in. Art, I think you're back. Mahoning County report.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, now we hear you.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, thank you. Thank you to Mercer County Club for what a great presentation. What a great thing to do with the STEM camp. That is just unbelievable. And thanks to them and to the club for putting all of that on. And the very best to everybody. That's all I really have, Jim.
Okay, Art, and thanks so much for being here. And it was great to see Adam at one of the Tuesday get-togethers. A reminder that next Tuesday we'll be at the Park Inn, and all the Tuesdays that we're not meshing, when we mesh at the Park Inn or meeting, but even Steelman and Alex are there tonight, both of them on the meeting here at the Park Inn. So next Tuesday at 6 p.m. That's Tuesday, June 29th. And then don't forget the picnic at Buell Park. And I believe Cookie's got us set up at shelter number 4. That is Tuesday, July 27th. We'll have the picnic, and it's catered by Guy Gibbs, very famous caterer here in Mercer County. And he is the official caterer of the K3LR contest team, and good friends with Harry and Barney and Cookie. And certainly you don't want to miss that. And of course, Guy is also catering our dinner this Saturday night at 6 p.m. here at K3LR for field day. So if you don't do anything else, come and get the free dinner. You know, it's going to be really good. Alex, we're going to have corn on the cob, smoked chicken breasts, and, you know, hamburgers, hot dogs. And then there's some healthy stuff like a fresh fruit salad. It's going to be really good. We stood down on the ice cream, but we could go to Dairy Queen. It could happen. So we're going to have a lot of fun on field day. And of course, field day is one of my favorite times of the year. We're going to start here at 11 o'clock at K3LR. Just Google or go to qrz.com. You get the address, come here to K3LR. Plenty of parking across the road here as well. And we're going to have a great time. Field day is W3LIF. We're going to be 7 foxes, Western Pennsylvania. And we have 3 great Elmer programs, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. Please refer to your email for what's going to happen. And then at 2 o'clock, the field day contest starts. And the main goal of this field day is to mentor and get people on the air. You know, whatever high school students that Josh brings over, the CAP people that arrive, we want to make sure that people get on the air and see just how much fun amateur radio is. So that's really the goal of this field day, is to have fun. And please come out on Sunday too. So many Sundays, it was like, where'd everybody go? But if you come out on Sunday morning, I'm going to make you an omelet. And it's not like an omelet you've ever had before, because we're going to go down to Palumbo's and get some chorizo and some other secret ingredients. Tom, KT3P, he knows what that omelet's like.
Mhm.
I know that Linda, N3LY, and Mike have had the omelets, and Amy and AMY. So if you don't do anything else, come out for the omelets Sunday morning. They're really good.
And Sunday is the Super Sunday contest.
There you go.
Most cues. Can somebody take that 3-foot high trophy away from Mike this year? We had it's been wrapped and stored somewhere, and so Sunday will tell the tale.
I think the trophy has been stored on Funk and Wagnall's porch, as Johnny Carson would say.
There we go.
Well, where it is used to be a port, so there you go.
There you go. We do have some significant expenses this year between the catering and the tent rental. Like everything went up. We have a beautiful 20-foot by 30-foot tent that we have to rent. And the tent rental alone is $750. And then you put in the catering of about $500. What I would like to do is have the MCARC contribute about half of the expenses to this. So I'm seeking a motion from the floor to authorize the payment of $450 for field day. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jack, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to appropriate $450 for field day. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Bob, KGHEO, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, and the remainder expenses will be a donation from K3LR. So that's how we do that. Do not forget the July picnic. That's July 27th at Buell Park. It's going to be a great outing. Your families are invited and encouraged. So let's do that. Do we have any other new business to come before this club? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Art, thank you for the motion. Linda, thank you for the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. And I see Roll, K3RA from the Potomac Valley Radio Club is here. Roll, good evening and thank you for coming. And the floor is yours, Roll.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll tell you one thing. I've never been to too many meetings, ham radio especially, that end exactly on 7:30 when this meeting's supposed to end on 7:30 before. So Tim, you run a tight meeting there. Congratulations. Tim asked me to give this presentation to you that I gave about a week ago to his Friday weekend special meetings. It's about field day, as you might guess, at this time of year. And I call it field day, an atypical example, W3AO field day. If you participated in field day, you may have run into W3 Atlantic Ocean on the air. And if you haven't, you'll, by the end of this presentation, I hope you'll know a little bit about it. In the past, it's been a joint effort of the Potomac Valley Radio Club and the Columbia Amateur Radio Association. So I always start off with this entertaining these ideas here. What operating event can you make more than 10,000 contacts in a week in 24 hours? Work some of the best contesters in the world. Introduce ham radio to kids, friends, public, and government officials. Operate single sideband, CW, FM, RIDI, PSK, HF, VHF, UHF, microwave, and satellite. Handle traffic and conduct an emergency exercise. Attend or conduct a class. Camp out and have a picnic with great food, and train new contesters. And of course, the answer to that is ARRL Field Day. ARRL Field Day started originally in 1933 in the June issue of QST, and this is an actual excerpt from the magazine.
Roll, do you want to share your screen?
Oh, wow. I do that every time. Let me share my screen, and then you'll probably enjoy this a lot more. I hope. There we go. Let me start. So those are those questions that I just asked, right? I'm not going to go over those again, of course. Here was the first chart that you missed with the background there being the ARRL Field Day.
Roll, go full screen, full screen. There we go.
Okay. So those are those points I made. So the answer is ARRL Field Day to that question. And the first field day was announced, as I said, in the June 33 QST. by Ed Handy, W1BDI. And this is an actual excerpt from the magazine. Besides offering an opportunity to get out in the open in this fine spring weather, and I'm not remembering now whether the date was really June then. I think it was probably close to it. So it may be a little bit late for this fine spring weather. I know my experience in June has been sometimes in Maryland, at least, not so fine spring, but often quite nice. The real object of this contest is to test portables, in quotes, wherever they may be available. If successful, we want to make it an annual affair. That was in 1933. And in 1933, portables meant operating anywhere but at your home station. And as a matter of fact, you had to get a special call sign in order to operate portable. You couldn't just say /P or /3 or something like that. You had to get a special call sign and inform the FCC that you were going to be operating other than at your home ahead of time. So that was a pretty big deal in those days. So 88 years later now, Field Day has changed some, but it's always emphasized groups and individuals operating in the field on emergency power. It's sort of a combination of a picnic and an operating event. It's always had emergency preparedness aspects. It's always had competition aspects. In fact, the very first field day, after the field day, they published the scores and they commended those who finished high in the results, and they listed them all. It's always been a heck of a lot of fun, and for all recent history, it's been the most popular operating event in the United States if we talk in numbers of participants. In 2019, for instance, over 3,000 groups representing 36,000 operators and nearly 4% of all amateur licensees were involved with field day operation. And in the COVID, the number of participants was the highest ever, although many of those participants were from home. Individual participants, individual stations. So I thought I'd review the basic field day rules. Most of you probably know these, but just a quick run through. It's this coming Saturday and Sunday. It starts at 0 Zulu on Friday. That would be actually Thursday evening for setup. And you have 24 hours between then and the beginning of your operation to do setup. That's a recent change in allowing you to work other than at the heat of the day. They were a little worried about the health risk of having to do a lot of work in end of June in the middle of the day in the southern part of the States. And it's all the basic rules are that you exchange the number of transmitters that you're operating and the class that you're in. There's A through F, and I heard you say you're going to be 7F. We'll talk about that in a minute, plus your ARRL section. And the idea is just work as many people as you can. You can work the same people on different bands. You can work the same people on different modes. But there are no multipliers. It doesn't matter where they're located. You get no extra points for that. And they give special recognition to the fact that digital and CW QSOs are a little bit slower than phone. So they give 2 points per CW digital QSO and 1 for phone. They also have a multiplier for power level. If you run less than 5 watts and you're on a battery, you get a multiplier of 5. If you are running between 5 watts and 150 watts, you get a multiplier of 2. And if you get, if you're running more than 150 watts, you get a multiplier of 1. So you can see that it's to your advantage if you're a good digital or CW operator to make lots of contacts in that mode. Plus, there are lots of features which I won't go into, such as the get on the air station, which I can't help but mention. It's such a great idea. You're allowed up to 1,000 contacts by either unlicensed, newly licensed, or inactive hams. In other words, this is to get people who are not really participating in amateur radio or who have never participated in amateur radio a chance to get on the air with a mentor there to help them. It also encourages VHF and UHF activity. There's special points for receiving messages from ARRL, their bulletin, and copying that accurately, and also for sending messages. They give special bonus points for satellite operations, and many more special bonus points to encourage lots of variety of activities in the field day contest. If you're interested, here's a link. ARRL.org has all the information, as you might guess. And entries are based on these categories, as I say, number of transmitters, 1 to 30 or more. And most common is 3, but lots of 1s and 2s and 4s and 5s. And you're going to have a 7. And then there's 6 classes. If you're in the field with 3 or more operators operating portable, that's A. And if it's just 1 or 2 folks in the field, that's B. And if you're operating from your mobile, it could be your car, your plane, or your boat, or whatever. That's something where you can move your transmitting station while you're transmitting. That's class C. Home stations on commercial power are D, and if you're running emergency power, they're E. And if you're operating from an EOC, that's class F. So an exchange, for instance, would be 14A MDC, which would be 14 transmitters, 3 more operators in the field, and the Maryland District of Columbia section. So people approach field day in lots of different ways. I heard how you're going to approach it, I think, with an emphasis on training and getting people interested in amateur radio and getting hams that are less experienced, more experienced. But some look at it as a social event for their club, and I can see you are too, especially I'd love to have that omelet on Sunday morning. It's a cookout with radios, essentially. Or it's a chance to operate in the field with food. The score is secondary for these folks. Others who are more emergency preparedness oriented will want to test out their emergency procedures and especially their equipment. If they have a trailer for emergency operations, they'll bring it out, test out the radios, the portable antennas, and the generators. There's lots of activity, lots of bands and modes to try out. So this is an ideal time to make sure all that stuff's working great. It's also an operating challenge. Can we beat last year's score? Can we make more contacts than we did last time? Can we make more contacts in the club down the street? For others, it's an outdoor adventure. They backpack their radio to a mountaintop or operate from a scenic location or in a national park or summits on the air. And there's lots of activity that weekend, so with their little radio, they can make quite a few contacts. This is your specialty, I think, this coming weekend. A chance to introduce radio to the public and to new amateurs. Set up in a public place, get out the publicity, operate to get on the air station, have mentors there to help out. And for others, it's a contest. They do, after all, publish the score. And if you count a score, there's going to be competition to see who gets the highest. Although not all, like in any contest, the vast majority of people aren't entering for score, actually. They're entering just for the fun of being in the quote contest. So here's the W3AO approach. By the way, I have my W3AO t-shirt on here from past years. Our feeling is that competition is fun. So we're out to maximize the score. Being from the Potomac Valley Radio Club, contest club, of course, score is important to us. Teamwork is fun. We love the fact that we get together 50 or 60 people, all with a variety of skills and talents to help make our field day weekend possible. Success is fun. If everything works as it's planned, that's great. Or if we can fix all the things that didn't work as planned and still get through field day, we consider that fun. Of course, eating is fun, great food, and you'll see our solution to that. And recruiting great new hams is important to us too. So we aim to get as many newcomers and inactive hams on the air as possible. So I'll make a little political statement here. I wish the ARRL would change the rules for bonus points for GOTA to give you bonus points for how many people you get on the air and not how many contacts they make. I think the emphasis should be introducing lots of people to the amateur radio operating in HF and VHF and satellites and whatever, and not so much on how many contacts they make. Right now, the bonus points all go for how many contacts they make, and they encourage a lot of contacts, up to 100, which is not going to happen for the beginners that are just learning. Anyway, if you feel like writing the ARRL and say, why don't you change that rule, you'll have my support. I've already done it in the past, and I'll do it again. W3AO, after all this is said and done, it's generally known as, that's the bunches with all those transmitters on the air. And that's certainly true. We've been on the air for, this will be our 23rd year, and we've entered many, many different categories. We started out our very first year in 4A, and the second year we had 7 transmitters, and then the numbers got really big until our record number was 51 transmitters, which, by the way, is the most transmitters anybody's ever put on the air in field day. We also have a lot of records for top score. All of these double asterisks are the top score in that category. These are all-time records that haven't been bested. And these asterisks over here indicate an all-time record high score ever in field day. And those numbers keep, we keep beating our own record. And then these triple asterisks represent the highest number of contacts. So in 2017, we made 12,434 contacts in one 24-hour period. Pretty amazing. This is that record-setting result. For those of you who are contest-oriented, you can see the numbers that we came up with in the various bands. You can see that CW is most productive. Multiply these things by 2, and you can see they beat the sideband scores. So this is how you add up to that number. And you can see that digital produced quite a few, and it'll produce more this year because FT8 is extremely popular. And if you're going to do any digital operation, you got to get on FT8 if you really want to make some contacts, because that's where it's going to be on all bands, not just VHF, where it is very popular. Of course, to finish that pie requires a big team. This is there are more than this number of people involved in our field day. This is just the ones that happen to be there at the very beginning of the contest, or the operating event, I should say, on Saturday. There were people that were there on Friday to help us set up. There'll be people there that were only on Sunday to help us tear down, and there were people that arrived and left before this and came afterwards. The key is planning. We have to select the site. We have to lay out how the antennas are going to go up. We have to have a VHF position. We have to have emergency power that will run all these stations. We have to have the operators lined up that can man all these stations for around the clock for the bands that are going to be open all the time. We have to line up, get on the air team to help the people on the GOTA station. And we have to line up participants to come out and be on the GOTA. And we'll talk about each of these things. We also have satellite, and we have radios to acquire, and we have food. And of course, I can't read what the very last one of these is because it's off my screen, but I can push this off. Wait a minute. Push that up. Bonus points. So we have all those bonus points we talked about that we need to acquire. So here's how we pick the site. We need, for such a huge operation, again, remember I said this is an atypical operation. This is not your typical field day. We need a clear and flat site, and we are allowed a 1,000-foot circle. So the majority of our antennas are in 2 lines along a 1,000-foot line. People say, well, why don't you just go out to a school with a football field? Well, that's only 300 feet between the goalposts and maybe another couple 20 yards on each end. So that's nowhere near enough. We need 3 feet football fields length. We need a fairly good elevation for the VHF and UHF station. Elevation not so important for HF. It needs to be quiet electrically. We don't want neon signs from some local business nearby buzzing away and interfering with our reception, or power lines, or solar panels, or whatever it might be. Generator noise, I don't mean the electrical noise, but the physical noise of the generator can be a problem if you're located in a public place where there's people trying to do other things other than participate in field day. If you're near houses, especially, that's a problem. But even if you're in a mall or some area like that, you don't want the generator noise to be an objection. You want it to be a nice experience for folks, not a bad one. It's nice if this site isn't too far away. Of course, many people like the idea of getting out on the mountaintops, but for a big operation like this, we wanted it to be where we could get to it relatively easily. And we wanted the public to be able to get to it relatively easily, including visiting officials from served organizations and elected officials. Over the years, almost all of our activities have been from schools in our county, and this was a particular county location that we've used many times. Here's a picture of our site, and we have a tent very much like the one you guys are going to be renting for your 7F operation. It's an expense, considerable expense. I agree with Tim's comment there. So what about the antennas? Well, a lot of people say, gee, field day, this is the chance to put up that 5-element beam that I've always wanted to have on 40 meters. We can put it up in the trees with wires. We'll be the strongest signal on the air. Well, you'll be the strongest signal on the air somewhere, but you won't be the strongest signal on the air everywhere, because obviously you're beaming all your signal in a narrow direction. And we don't want to have to rotate our antennas any more than necessary. In fact, we don't have any rotators at all. We're lucky enough to be on the East Coast, so we point everything west and we leave them that way. We found we can work from Maine to Florida, even though our antennas are generally pointed west. We use 3-element monoband Yagis built by W3 LPL, and these are a fairly broad azimuth angle, so we don't have to rotate them. We have 3 of them on 20, 3 on 15, and 3 on 10. We have 2 Shorty 40 Cushcrafts on 40 meters, and we have a 3-element tri-bander for the GOTA station. For the lower frequencies, including 40 again, we have dipoles. So we have 4 40-meter dipoles, 8 80-meter dipoles, and at times we've had 2 160-meter dipoles, and at times 1. 160 during June, right the peak of summer, is not the best band, but we do work usually close to 100 people on 160. And we need lots of coax to reach all these antennas scattered along a 1,000-foot line. In fact, we have 2 miles of coax that we have to roll out on Friday and roll back up again on Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, W3LPL's big contest station has beverages, and now lately it's been vertical and switchable vertical arrays that he uses for receiving, but they're not on his property, so he has to take them down every fall, spring, and put them up every fall for the contest season. So he just happens to have a couple miles of coax rolled up in his backyard that we can take down to our field day site. We also have the fortunate situation where our contest team, or our field day team, has 13 of the AB577 50-foot towers that we own individually. I have a couple of them myself, and these are great if you've ever seen them in action. These are wonderful design. Everybody sees them and says, what a wonderful design. As you can see, there are a bunch of tubes here. There are 8 tubes that fit into this rack, and they are put into an elevator arrangement here and lifted up one at a time and clamped at the bottom, and the next one goes up and then clamped again and lifted up. And we put the antenna on top of that array, on top of that tower, and then lift it. And we don't use rotators because I told you. On VHF, we have 1 tower, and Morris K3EJJ has this marvelous setup where he has 2 different masts on the same axis. He's got an outside tube and an inside tube. One's rotated by this band, this drive band here, with an offset rotor, and the other one which rotates the internal section of the mast. So we actually can point the 6-meter beam separate from the 2-meter and 70-centimeter arrays. And I think he's got a array here also for 1200. And he has a top, on top of this, he's got a vertical for FM on 6 meters as well, on 2 meters as well. So the question we get asked the most often is, how can you put so many transmitters on the air at one time without having the interference between the stations just be devastating? Well, this is especially a problem for us because we have as many as 4 transmitters in the same band simultaneously. Often on 40 meters or 20 meters, we'll have CW, single sideband, digital, and GOTA all going at the same time in the same band. We try to keep spread out on the band as best we can, but obviously we can't be too far apart. So the key is placing the antennas so there's the least coupling between them. That means putting the antennas that are on the same band end to end and as far apart as we possibly can get them, thus the 1,000-foot line. And we try to put the lower bands, the longer wavelength bands, further apart than the shorter. We can move this, we make it proportional to wavelength. So the 10-meter antennas can be closer together, try to keep the 40 meters further apart. So this was the layout in 1 year. This is typical. Here's our 1,000-foot line that we're limited to. And each one of these octagonal symbols represents a tower, one of those AB 577s. And these arrows represent dipoles strung on ropes between the towers. And these 160-meter dipoles are strung on ropes in between the tower rows and suspended on a series of ropes that are hanging from each side of the two lines. So here you can see how we set up. Here's 40 meters all in this one line. We wouldn't want any 40 meters back here because then the 40-meter antennas would not be end to end. So the 40-meter beams are pointed west. That's down in this picture. The 40-meter dipoles are here and here, and here, and here is the 40-meter single sideband. Likewise, here's 20 digital, 20 single sideband, 20 CW, and GOTA. That's as far apart as we can get those four 20-meter antennas. So you can see how we set the antennas up. We can't make them too far apart in the east-west direction because of the 1,000-foot limit. It's a circle, so it would be starting to make them shorter if we got them too far apart. So we spaced these two lines about 100 feet apart, and we don't have very much interference between 10 meters and 20 meters. If you look at the harmonics, the harmonics don't fall very often in the band. The harmonics don't usually cause the trouble. It's front-end overload that causes the trouble primarily, and we also use bandpass filters for all of our receiving antennas, or it's a 150-watt contest, so we can use transmit receive filters relatively inexpensively. So we have transmit receive filters in every station output. So it's very hard to get a view of what this looks like with all these AB 577s. This is the view looking north from the center of the two lines, one line on the left and one on the right. And here's a tower for the 10-meter. Here's the VHF. Here's 10-meter CW. And here's our GOTA tribander far down there, followed by 15, 20 CW, 15 sideband, 20 single sideband. And then looking the other way, there's looking from the south, looking to the south, there's that GOTA tribander, by the way, and looking in the other direction. And there's some antennas you can't see in this picture. We have to network all these radios, and we have to connect them all to computers to do logging. We have 14 retired computers from the school system that were given to us. They're only used for field day, and they're checked out each year. And we're still running CT, which is an ancient logging program, and we all use it only for field day. But it's loaded and working, and it still works fine, and everybody knows it. So we've been using it for the whole 23 years. We're on the verge of changing these computers out to small, much smaller computers, modern miniature computers, and probably switching to N1MM or some more modern logger. Of course, we have to have a reliable emergency power, and it should be quiet. If not for neighbors, we don't have any neighbors close by at all here at this site, but we don't want it to interfere with the operators who are trying to hear. So we want it to be pretty quiet. We have 3 generators that are similar to this. They're on trailers that K3EJJ put together with this housing holding the generators. He happens to have connections to the recreational vehicle business. And so these are taken out of old RVs and refurbished entirely. And then a special panel made up with monitoring gear and also connectors that match just about any kind of connector you need. Plus he has an uninterruptible power supply that runs the whole operation as well, a huge UPS, so that if the generator should go down and we need to switch it to another one, we can continue to operate. We also have course, to distribute all that power safely and efficiently to all the different operating positions. And of course, keeping the generators fueled is important, but keeping the operators from fueled is even maybe more important. I claim that this is my wife, and she's the one who has been the field day food chairman for many years now. I claim we're one of the few, if maybe not the only, field day operation that has flowers on our food table during field day. But this is lunch, which is a cold cut lunch, but we also have a cookout at the end of the contest when everybody's finished. And we, of course, breakfast on Sunday morning, as Tim was pointing out, is really, really important. We are totally spoiled. Audrey brings us a menu that says we check off whether we are going to get up to get our supper or whether we'd like it brought to us. In this case, it was one of the meals that was Mexican, so we could check off what we wanted and what we want for dessert, what we want to drink. And this is for Saturday supper. There was one of these for every meal. We have pizza on Friday for setup for all the people who do setup. That's available. And then on Saturday, we have dinner, and then Sunday morning breakfast, and then the cookout on Sunday afternoon. And of course, you have to have everything taken care of. There are certain other issues that we have to address, and this has got to be located close, but not too close to the town. So some happy snaps here of the W3AO team at work. Here we are at the beginning of the, just before the 2 o'clock Eastern time, with myself and our Chief Safety Officer and Antenna Deployment Chief, N3KTV, where we're briefing the team as to final things they need to know about how we're going to operate and what certain things about the CT program that they need to know and other things like that. It's about a 5-minute, last-minute briefing, including safety. We have very strict safety rules. We monitor the weather, and if lightning and storms are in the area, we do have to shut down, of course. Here's what the tent looks like, staffed and in operation. This is 80 meters here, 15, 2 operators there. Here, this is one of our 2 digital stations. This is the other of our 2 digital stations. Each of these guys is running 2 stations simultaneously, individually. So actually, we have 4 stations on the air here. And then down here is 20 phone and CW, 10 phone and CW, 40 phone and CW here. And then the go-to stations here. The VHF station is separate, and I'll show you that in a minute. Here's a close-up of me pre-beard, operating with Frank W3LPL. My band, as it is at Frank's when I operate from there, is 20 CW. And you see our 10-meter operator and the distance 40. Here's a close-up of our RTTY PSK FT8 operation. Here's the tent that I've been talking about with the VHF UHF operation. Maurice, who's the guy with the generators and the fancy rotator set up on VHF, also provides the specially built tent. It's specially built because it has a port in the side to bring in air conditioning. His brother is in the air conditioning business, so he just happens to have an air conditioner. I wouldn't call it a portable air conditioner. It looks just like the one that sits outside my house, actually. But he brings that in to the field day site, and he has an air-conditioned tent. Needless to say, it's a popular tent. It comes in handy, too, if in one of these hot Maryland summers. We've had a few occasions where the heat's been a little overwhelming for people, and this has been an air-conditioned place for them to get away. The satellite team has their own tent, their own antenna tower, separate from all those AB577s. This is the satellite team here, and they typically make more than 25 QSOs. Actually, this is not the best weekend if you're not a good satellite operator. There's so much activity that it's sometimes hard to break through all the stations calling, because on the FM satellites, they're only going to be able to copy the loudest stations, and in the the stations that just translate the signal, those transponders can be overloaded, and all the signals get weaker. So the strong signals tend to dominate. But you can make a contact almost for sure if you try many passes. It's the largest field day in the world, so it's an attraction that does attract local officials. Here's a state delegate visiting us. Here's the fire chief. We actually have visiting firemen. This is one of the few events where the visiting fireman is really a fireman. And they even bring their emergency van, which we've used the generator from at one time when our generator system failed for half an hour or so. We switched over to their power in a matter of minutes. And other than that, it's there mostly to demonstrate to the public that comes through. The GOTA is very important. We've had over 25 GOTA operators. I think our record is close to 30 different folks get on the air. You can earn as many as 1,000 bonus points in by having your GOTA operators make 20 contacts or more. But it's again, I think the emphasis should be on this number, not on this number down here. And we line up family, friends, kids, our kids, neighbors' kids. I teach classes regularly, and I try to encourage my students from my licensing classes to come. And any club inactive members, we try to get them out. Usually weather is great at the end of June, but it isn't always. In this 2008 photo, you can see the rain dripping from the tent, and this is from the food tent looking over toward the operating tent. And we had so much rain that we had to go out on Saturday morning to the hardware store and purchase lumber, plywood, to put down underneath the table so they wouldn't sink into the mud, and so our foot switches wouldn't be underwater. And our feet wouldn't be in the mud puddles. However, we had thought ahead and suspended all of the cabling between the stations on a raised platform. So, yeah, get on for field day. It's June 26th and 27th. There's many ways to do it. Join your club's activity that you just heard about. Organize with just a couple of friends to go out in the field, operate from your backyard or your park, local park, or you can get on from home. There's special rules this year for field day that because of COVID, Class D stations can work everybody. Normally Class D stations, which are the ones that are home stations on commercial power, can't work each other. But just for last year and this year, the rules have been changed. And actually W3AO entered last year in that aggregate category where all of the scores from our individual team members were added together rather than going out as in the field. And we have to do the same thing this year because our access to the schools was very limited due to the COVID here in Maryland. So for wrapping this up, field day is June 26th and 27th. It's always the fourth full weekend in June. If you want to see a video that it's old, but it represents pretty accurately what we've been doing over the last 23 years. If you came out 2 years ago, it wouldn't look very much different. Search for something called The Last Big Field Day. It's by the Amateur Radio Video Network. It's a professional film video. And the name is a little bit strange because you can see it was nowhere near the last big field day. There were many big field days following that one, but that was the title that they chose. So do a search for The Last Big Field Day on YouTube, and you'll get a chance to see some videos of our setup and interviews with the operators and so forth. So with that, I will stop sharing and open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Roll. That's a great slide deck. And congratulations on so many years and impacting so many people for field day. Questions for Roll?
I must have answered the one about how do you get all those transmitters on the air. Okay, good. I must have entertained you or put you to sleep, one or the other.
Any questions for Roll, K3RA?
Okay, well, have a happy field day, guys. I wish you luck in 7F. What's your call sign again?
It's going to be W3 Lima India Foxtrot.
W3LIF. I recognize that call. Okay.
Yeah, we've been operating field day for a number of years, and Mike NR3C has been one of our top guns, and he'll be up from West Virginia again. So we're looking forward to, like I said, introducing a lot of new people to Field Day. And so we're going to have a lot of mentoring going on, and a lot of, we might have 7 GOTAs.
That would be, well, yes, effectively.
That's right. That's right.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much, Roll. Last chance for questions for Roll, K3RA, who's down in Maryland and gave a great presentation tonight.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right.
Good luck to you guys in Field Day. And
All right.
Remember me when you're having that omelet on Sunday morning.
We will. Thank you, Roll, so much, and give our best to the PVRC and to our good friend Frank, W3LPL.
All right, same to you and your teams as well.
Okay, see you later. And with that, we are done with all the entertainment for this evening, and we're going to leave the Zoom up for as long as people want to talk. It won't go to sleep until you do. So encourage club members to enjoy the Zoom, enjoy the friendship and the fellowship. And John, I see KB3H up there in Franklin on. Nice to see you, John.
He's a nice guy. I want to meet him in person. Oh, it's really nice.
Oh, here's Alex and Steelman from the scene of the crime.
We are beta testing over here at the Park Inn. So we want to make sure that the Park Inn is ready when we decide to come back for our meeting. So Jeff and I are going to continue beta testing.
The condiments are back out. We have Grey Poupon. We have Grey Poupon.
Very good, Steelman. Great to see both of you having fun at the Park Inn, and we'll be there soon.
Yep. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be lots of fun. Miss Amy, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Field Day.
Yeah, I want to see you on the radio this year, Alex.
Yeah, I want to see you on the radio. On the radio?
Yeah. We gotta get more bandwidth for Dr. Alex.
Yeah, I don't know what my signal strength is over here.
What was that, John?
Just a perfect summer day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
But if we could have this summer day on Saturday and Sunday, that'd be great.
I'm sure it will be.
Tim, I have a question.
Yes, Jeannie.
You said to wear our call sign badges. What are the call? Where do we get the call sign badges? I didn't know we had them.
Yeah, send a message to Tom. Tom knows. Tom, are you still on?
I'm still here.
Yeah, Tom, you know this.
Check your newsletter or go to the homepage and look at the June newsletter that is posted there, and you will find a link to where you can order a Field Day call badge, or not a Field Day call badge, but your call badge, either in beautiful plastic, as I'm wearing now, or even wood engraved ones. There's a couple of places that we've highlighted that have done very good jobs for us, and they are there. Give them a call or contact them online, and they'll fix you right up.
Okay.
They have our logo, so when you get the badge, it'll come back with the club logo on it.
Okay. Because I was wondering about that.
Yeah. And
I thought maybe we had to make our own.
well, I would recommend heavy cardboard and real sharp markers if you do.
Well, I had those.
Okay.
Now, a piece of wood and some soldering iron. Burn it
There,
in.
there you go.
Brand it.
Or just write it on your forehead.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I do.
I have a call sign hat I bought at Dayton a few years ago.
I do too, but it's covered by my fishing license.
I have some of those too.
There you,
But I don't think there's any fish at Tim's place.
well, you never know.
Just QSOs. That's all.
Use those and omelets. Sunday
There you
morning.
go. CQ omelets.
Hey, Tim, I'm going to show up around 10 at your place so I can be ready for my Elmer session at 11. I'm going to pull into your driveway so I don't have to carry my stuff as far. And then once people start showing up, I'll figure out where to move my car. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. I'll be at the Globe with Alex at that time, but you're free to come and do whatever you need
Yeah,
to
and
do.
I'm just going to grab a table under the shelter. Is
Yep.
the setup going to be similar to what it was during our last field day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just going to go there, grab a table near an edge facing that big tree in your antenna farm. And I'll be there around 10 and I'll start getting everything set up. And if
Good.
my car's in the way, I'll just move it whenever.
Yep. No problem at all, Harry. Sounds
Okay,
great.
thank you. And by the way, it's looking like thunderstorms in the afternoon. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
Well, it went from 60% to 40% tonight. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
yeah.
We'll put an RF in the sky and divert the clouds.
Oh, and Tim, I have a third antenna I might bring. I finally tried my Soda Beams band hopper dipole. That is a way cool antenna. I don't know if
Good.
you've ever played with one of those.
No.
Okay,
Yeah, bring that along.
it is way cool. And I figured out how to mount the Soda Beams mast on one of my portable tripods. So I don't have to bring out a sledgehammer and pound a ground stake or do any of that nonsense. The only problem is with these Soda Beam masts, if you're not careful, all the elements will fall out of the open end. And of course, I ended up putting one element in backwards and it got jammed. So I had to take it inside, get a vise and a pair of pliers and try to get it out without cracking the fiberglass.
Okay.
So
Well,
it was fun using it for the first time.
bring it out and show everybody what
Yeah,
you got.
I'll bring that along too.
That'll be great, Harry.
But the Soda Beams dipole is way cool. It works. Good design.
Excellent.
Hey, Tim, something else I saw that other people may be interested in, that may be the trend of the future. I worked a special event station in Hawaii a couple weeks ago.
K6K.
Yeah. And I got an email from them with a link to download the certificate.
Mhm.
So granted, it's not as much fun as getting a real paper certificate in the mail, but it's a lot cheaper and a lot quicker. And it was even personalized. It clearly had somebody who knows software figure out how to make a personalized certificate with the correct log information, like time of contact, mode. And I thought that was just really slick and a way cool way of handling special event certificates.
Yeah, I know NAAMY also worked them.
Okay. Of course, I worked them from my backyard with 10 watts of CW and a portable antenna.
Very cool, Harry.
So, but I thought the way they did the certificate was really outstanding.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Better than a self-addressed stamped envelope.
You know, self-addressed stamped envelope. Yeah, it takes forever, and it's more work from everybody. And I have a great photo printer. If I want a fancy looking certificate, I can print it out here.
This week, the certificates from last year's PAQSO party finally came out. And Mike and I both got one from last October. So,
Yeah, boy.
yeah, to see that finally come out.
You look good now, Alex. Good.
That was the best. I don't know how it's going to go with.
Hey, Tim, how's my bandwidth?
It's not good, Alex.
Yeah, we don't have good. Maybe I need to get the park in Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah.
We're not, inside the building here, our Wi-Fi is,
Being shunned like Amish.
we're being shunned like the Amish.
Yeah. You need more bandwidth, or you shut down your video.
We're big men. It takes a lot to digitize us.
Jeff says we're large men. It takes a lot to digitize us, man.
We don't have skinny jeans.
We don't have skinny jeans. We have coveralls, not skinny jeans.
You have Terry Jim Beam now.
We have-
It's great.
We're
to
doing
see
the best
you
we
guys.
can with what.
Hey, Tim, I got another
Hey.
question.
Yeah, Jeannie.
On they said that they're gonna do testing. I was asked how much it costs to take a test now.
$15.
Is it still 15? They didn't go with that 50 thing to,
No, it's still 15.
okay, because that's what they were asking me. And the last I heard, they were gonna include that $50 fee. And I didn't know if that made it $65
Good signal.
or did it make it $50 or how much is it now?
It's 15.
Well, that's probably a good thing because sometimes I have to take mine more than once. Right, Mike? Right, Linda?
Once you pass, it doesn't matter how many times you took it, asked, and nobody's gonna ask you how many times you took it. It's the whole important thing you pass and you have your license.
Yep, I do. Now I just got to get my general and that's what I'm working on.
Good.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear it. Just let us know when you're ready.
No better. Terry.
And on those STEM camp things that Josh and the other fellow was talking about, they need to have a senior citizen one. I think that would be fun to go to one. Linda, would you want to go to a camp? It sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, they all the old timers are doing all the teaching. That's what we're doing.
Well, there's a few of us old timers that would probably just like to go make something.
There we go.
I could
Hey,
round
Tim.
up a few more.
Tim,
Yeah,
Jeff wants to know if we can get a grant from the AARP to do a STEM camp.
Yeah, there you go. What about you, Amy? Wouldn't you like to go to a STEM camp? You guys are no fun.
At my age, I'd like to have stem cells so that I can get young again.
Well, you always guess we all can't have what we want, huh?
You can't always get what you want, but you
That's
get
right.
what you need.
You can't even get what you need anymore.
I know. Can't get no satisfaction either.
That's right. Tim thought that was
Everything
pretty
I know in
funny.
life I learned from the Rolling Stones.
I know.
Hey,
There we
in
go.
the chat, guys, is the information on call sign badges. So take a look at the chat note,
It's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
the
That's good
information.
to know because I looked at the newsletter and I didn't see where it said to do that.
Yeah, you have to scroll down there. And it's down there. Glad you got it, though. Glad you got it.
Can you post it again?
Okay.
I'm getting a 404 not found.
Oh, geez.
Well, it happens. Remember, I used to work in QA.
Let's see.
Smile, guys. I'm gonna take a picture.
Chat.
Smile.
Oh, you mean the site?
Well, it says, yeah, the URL for the site, http:// whatever. It's coming if not found.
How about the other one, gifts for hams?
That's what I mean. Yeah, when I click on that link,
Oh, that's the wooden one.
oh, well, I don't want wood anyway. I'll get splinters.
Yeah, the top one is Jericho over in Ohio. So I think that's still good. It
Okay,
was,
that's not, okay, let me cut and paste that.
okay.
It says phone. I don't want phone. I want CW.
Well, even if I called tomorrow, I probably wouldn't have it by Saturday if I did come. I'm gonna try to
Oh,
come
no.
to field day.
Okay, I get Jericho Prince coming up.
Okay.
ARRL, where do I want to click in there? ARRL name badge.
You got wander around, you'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one is actually a bigger company. I'm surprised that they're not.
Let me try typing it in by hand.
Yeah, they had some nice ones. Arizona, Josh put me onto these and check them out.
Oh, okay. W3. Okay. There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah, I was.
And roll has been added to the newsletter population. So we've got, I send out about 220. Not all our members or subscribers. We have 79 members of the club who receive the newsletter. So that's different than guests, but presenters and so on try to get those out so that everybody gets them. Between Corey and I, we've adjusted the membership list and make sure everybody has a relevant email address so that we can send them. And it takes a little while. To put up there, but what else can you do at 2 in the morning?
Hey, Tim, you still on the call?
He must have jumped the 40 meters.
Yeah, a little early for him. Yeah, one of the things we need to figure out kind of as a team strategy about maybe getting Trumbull County active again. I know we've got Mahoning County in the group and pretty good coverage in Western PA with several counties over there, but I don't know if there's any kind of active group here in Trumbull County anymore, or we could get something organized, maybe with some invitations to a meeting or a hosted cocktail party or something, and see if we could get going.
Oh, I like
nice
that.
to have. Be nice to have that.
Yes, especially when we get the weather warnings that, like, yes, the last one we got that said once it leaves Trumbull County and hits the PA border, there's no more warning. I don't know how.
I always thought that was a weakness, and really, we sometimes get them from Geauga County when the Cleveland Weather Service puts it up, but that would be a pretty good thing to figure out how we could strategize on that a little bit. Maybe get some representatives over, because we've got some members in Trumbull County as well. Jerry and Bonnie and myself, and there's several others that are active in the club already. So I just don't know what it would take to kind of revive that.
That's a good idea.
So it seems to be a very much all-encompassing organization. So kind of a neat thing to do.
Did we have
guys? Jeff and I are going to take the show on the road.
Oh, that's better, Alex.
Hey.
Okay.
Coming
We'll
in
see
fair.
you later, Nat.
See you guys on
Next
Saturday.
How come Steelman's signal is better? I don't get it.
He's resident.
Asking for a friend.
He's resident at 2.4 gigahertz.
So that's it. That's it.
Hey, see you guys on Saturday.
Okay, see you, Bob.
All right, be good, guys. Talk to you then.
I think I'm going to bail out of here too, guys. So I guess we have another one of these on Thursday night, maybe. But I'll definitely see everybody on Saturday morning.
Yes.
See you later.
I got minutes before I turn into a pumpkin.
Okay.
Talk to you later. What do we got left?
Tom,
Yo.
are you? You're gonna be at field day on Saturday, correct?
I am. I'm going to try to escort some of the press there who are scheduled to arrive at 1:45, 2 o'clock.
Okay, 'cause I think I need some lessons on iPad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, bring them on.
Yeah, it'll be along. And does anybody know what time Arizona Josh is gonna show up at field day? He said last Thursday he was gonna be there.
Yeah, he's traveling, I believe, today. I'm pretty sure somewhere near 2 o'clock, if not earlier. I mean, he knows breakfast, so if I don't know what time they'll get in, you know. So I'm not sure where he's staying at either, because I know his mom now is out in Arizona. So, but I'm sure he has cousins or whatever, relatives. I'm stay at a relative's place. But yeah, it'd be great to see him.
Yep. Because
If
he wants to play with my flex.
Oh yeah. Yes. I like what they did with the app that runs between the iPad and the Flex. My goodness.
Yes. It's fantastic. I didn't even have any trouble with it.
Oh no. No, I know that. Gee. I was going, oh, this is going to be so. Oh, I have to have a Flex. Son of a gun. I don't have all the parts to the equation.
Oh, you only need one more.
That's right. You got that. Okay.
And actually, it isn't all that expensive. So.
That I don't know if there is no entry level for a Flex, is there?
Yes and no.
Yeah. The 64, 640. Which one am I thinking?
6400 is the.
Yeah.
I don't want to say bottom end of the. It's the 2 receiver, most inexpensive Flex, unless you find one at a ham fest. And there's a couple other models, too, older ones that still work on the system too, I think. There's a Flex community. Go on it and read. You'll find out quite a bit about Flex Radio.
Yeah, I've seen the site a couple times wandering around. It's always fun to see some of those guys. I've been following the SWL QRP group too, and it's every time I see something different, I send it to Harry and drive him crazy. Look, Harry, a new antenna. No, so there's a lot to see out there.
Yeah, there's so much modern technology now, and it's hard to keep up with. And for some of us older gentlemen, it's real pain. Too frustrating.
Oh yeah.
It's just like when I couldn't get my iPad to work a year or so ago or longer on Echo Link. All I had to do was turn it sideways and I got the rest of the screen. Duh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't tell you all that stuff.
No.
I recently got a battery manager for my car, and it's wonderful. Has all these lights on it. And there was a question that was brought up and answered about when all is said and done, which one of the lights should indicate that everything was completed properly? And the answer was the blue light. The problem was they're all blue. Oh,
Well, guys, I'm gonna kick out of here. So it was nice seeing yous all tonight. Hopefully I'll see yous at field day.
okay, and I hope you get a good response from Jericho on your call. They did a nice job on them, on the logo and everything, putting the name
That's
on.
the white badge with the logo. That's
Yeah.
the,
It's nice and heavy, and you can opt for a pin or a magnet on the back. You know, if you don't want
Okay.
to pierce clothing or something, you can use a magnet. If you don't have a pacemaker.
yeah. I'll just go with the pin. I'm still old fashioned.
And these sizes, I think she can rearrange, and you can get more information on if you want, but you know, you can have like Pennsylvania or your hometown or whatever. But they were real helpful and did a nice job on the logo.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, that's probably what I'll go with. Okay, I'll say 73 to you guys and see you Saturday, hopefully.
Don't forget about Thursday night. We'll be here.
Okay, I'll check in on Thursday night too. See, the problem is there's a net up here on Thursday night at the same time this is. So if I kick into the net and say I'm just in and out, then I can catch you guys. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
All right. I think I'm gonna bug out too, Tom.
Okay.
Basically, I probably shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. I was driving home and talking to you.
Well, hey, Steelman does it all the time.
Yeah, I ended up with two things at the same time tonight. Actually, kind of accomplished both of them. So
There you go.
it was a good evening. And when I tried to get on with the iPad, it made me a co-host because I use it to use PSG's meeting. And I couldn't figure out how to get out of being a co-host. That's why I'm showing up as MCARC. Yeah. But anyway,
That's okay.
we lived through it.
That's right.
All right. See you Thursday and Saturday or
Look for you. Hey, Mike. I don't know if you caught it, but I've been trying to get information from the paper, and they were looking for articles for their organization section. They have a section that they
Yeah,
run
you said that.
that's after the meeting, you know, and they like the one they sent as an example was the Mercer County Photo Club, you know, and it tells what went on at the meeting and what they're looking forward to and stuff like that. And they usually use the minutes of the meeting. If you want to get involved with it, fine. If not, I said, we'll see, you know. But it's funny when I try to avoid them, the editor down there now calls me and says, "Hey, you got anything?" I'm going, "Oh my gosh.
Really?
All this time we're trying to get you guys to do something, and now you're wanting more information." But it's up to you. You can edit it, you know, your version or their version, or just send it to them as a text file.
So what to send them?
Like the minutes of the meeting.
I mean, as is?
Well, if you want,
What-
but I would, you know, I would obliterate anything that you don't want put in the public record.
Yeah.
It'll be like, you know, the club met on such and such a date, looking forward to the picnic in July, the two members upgraded their license, that kind of thing, just general knowledge stuff. And it's let me see. and you would send it to, you'd send it to newsroom@sharonherald.com.
Okay.
NEWSRRROOM @sharonherald.com. Just to let them know. And they do run the local clubs. I know
Mhm.
that ours, it's different than what's going on column like they ran today.
Okay.
It's always after the meeting. This is stuff that,
Okay.
what was done after the meeting. So you don't have to, there's no deadline as far as that goes. So when you get your notes together for the meeting and you're satisfied with it, and it doesn't have to be a minute by minute account. It's just a couple words on what was going on. It makes it interesting. A friend of mine said, let me know that that's how he got involved in the photography club, because he saw what they're doing after the fact each time. And then they have their big deal is a photo contest. They announced the subject for next month will be birds or whatever. And then the meeting has occurred, and then you see the minutes that John was second place with his pictures, and so on and so forth. Not very long or detailed, just a general, but it keeps the club's name in the public eye. And oh gee, they're doing some really neat things.
And they keep doing that on a monthly basis? I mean, or do they just pick and choose different groups?
Oh no, they'll look for it every month if you so to submit it. If you don't submit it that month, then it won't be there.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good idea, actually. It's a good way to reach out.
Yeah, it takes them a little while to get going, but that way people begin to see what's going on, or has been. The ham crams coming up in September, that seems far away, but I only have 2 meetings left that I can contact school districts to get them involved. The school board meeting in July, and August is the beginning of school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got information out for those guys. I've had 2 hits so far, but no replies yet. So and Tim mentioned just the schools in the Shenango Valley for now to see how it goes, and then if we branch out, because there's 13 school districts in Mercer County.
Yeah.
And each one of them has a school board.
Yep.
So, and they all do things differently, every one of them. So that takes some time, but we'll push forward on that and see what happens. But yeah, I thought that was a good idea, and I'm trying to think of the editor. If you talk to the Herald, what you're doing is talking to 3 different papers: Newcastle News, Allied out of Grove City, and Sharon.
Oh, okay.
You get a nice spread. And I offered with Greenville, there was a guy named Straight out of the Record Argus. And usually the one year he showed up at field day, which was really neat. So we sent out a little blurb about a photo op to see the cadets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
On Saturday, and see if we can't get some of those photos into the picture, along with FMJ and 27. I thought maybe 27 might, because they came out and did a real nice video piece, 58 seconds, on Josh's STEM camp that really went over well. So, and that's where the pictures came from that are in the newsletter. I sent a preview to somebody, said, wow, how'd you get those really great pictures? I said, they're not mine. I said, they're the ends. I said, as I just grabbed them, which really has been a benefit for me anyways. I mean, even if we go back to club meetings eye to eye, I'm hoping maybe that they'll Zoom them. I could be in the room connected to Zoom and get more relevant information that way, photographs and stuff, without having to try to take pictures in the dark during the meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would work out good. And plus we could, like what Corey's been doing, he's been recording these and then posting them on the club's YouTube channel, which is really neat. So you can go back, miss something. It gives us a bigger spread.
Now, is he posting just the presentations, or is he doing the whole meeting too?
I don't know. I think in some cases it's just the presentation. I thought the first was the whole meeting because it was kind of funny. They left it running, and so this part of the money meeting actually made the replay. So, and you can edit them. You can go up and edit them very easily. But that's nice. But I like what Corey does too. He uses that not Zoom, but blur background that you can get on your, if you look on your backgrounds and filters that's available, he zooms out the background and it makes him look like he's 3D. And if you ever see Corey's, let me try it. I don't know what it'll do to me. Oh, let's try. Okay. There I am with a blurred black background.
Yeah.
It's very austere. And even if I try to show you the room that I'm in, you can see that I look like I'm forward with all the blurred images in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him with that.
I thought that was pretty. Probably won't be able to find my.
Well, they're going to have to keep doing Zoom. Because if I'm down here in West Virginia during the week.
Oh, yeah. And Josh, you and Josh. Marty's in California, although he wasn't on tonight.
Yeah.
I know.
Art up in New England.
Right. Art. That would be great. I mean, we can spread out. Like Bob was talking about getting the people from Trumbull County involved. That's the way, helping making sure that they can do the Zoom stuff to see what's going on. So, and I'm really glad to see that the list of members in good standing is reaching a nice number now.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them don't send their emails, and Corey and I go back and forth on finding them. Sometimes I have them in my subscription file, for the newsletter, and I can give them to him so that he has a record in case we have to locate those folks. But that's what's good. And my editor has informed me that I've reached the length now that they won't call it a bulletin anymore. They call it a newsletter. MailChimp is getting serious. But I can't wait. I mean, I want to pay for this on a monthly basis, but I have to hit 1,000 members. So once I get
what now?
Well, that's the deal. Since we're a club, I don't pay for the use of it until my membership gets to 1,000.
Oh, okay.
Once it hits 1,000, because see, like Constant Comment is another one. They are commercial sales things,
Okay.
But I'm using it. I'm just using it as a club.
Yeah.
But I don't get any direct. I got myself in a tangle support. So if I do get in trouble on it, I lose it. I can't recover it. So, but so far so good. But yeah. And there are other ways of doing it. I'm sure there's other people in the club that have better desktop publishing apps that they could actually use. I don't know what Parky uses over in Ohio to put out that book that they make each month. I mean, that's
I don't know.
But he's got a staff of 15 people.
Wow.
and a press yield. glossy printer. I mean, I know the samples that Tim has shown me, I can't believe the quality is just unreal. It's like Time magazine.
Yeah, I think I did see one of those a while back. Amazing.
But now you're right now, you're in West Virginia right now?
I am, yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's something. Hopefully the weather's been a little nicer down there.
Yeah, right now it's 66 degrees and it's still clear out.
Well, that's not bad. We crawled to 70 today. Cool winds out of the north, but we didn't get any rain. The last 4 days,
yeah,
I have over 2 inches of rain in the rain gauge.
Wow.
We really got the rain here. And I know there was a couple times I'm outside diverting rain coming down the driveway, so it wouldn't go into the garage. But
Oh,
real
yeah,
quick,
that's right.
Thunderstorms, and so that's the kind of weather we've been having. Really, really humid, and then a real nice break. It was the perfect day. You could go for a walk, a little bit of sun in the afternoon, and it was nice. But amazing. So
it's not too different down here, but I mean, I come home on the weekends and I notice a little bit, but winter was different. They had the ice storms.
Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't. Oh, you got all that ice.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think some places were without power for 3 weeks plus.
Wow.
You should have brought a camera. I mean, it would have been some of the scenes with all the trees just being laden with this ice, and there was so many down power lines and everything. It was amazing.
That's something. I mean, you never know what the weather's going to bring you.
Yeah.
I live on one of those streets where the eastern part of the street is half of it is underground utilities. The end that I'm on towards the west is above ground, telephone poles and power lines. So at any given moment, like, oh, I've lost power, but I can walk out to the street and look down the street, and the guy at the other end, oh, his lights are on. So because it's fed in 2 different directions.
Yeah.
We had 2 good local thunderstorms with lightning. One of them blew out a lightning arrestor on one of the poles, but it happened that they were in the area for something up in Greenville, and they covered it within an hour. We were back on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
not bad.
Not bad at all. So I see that. I guess Ted's left. Yeah, an 8 MP. Okay. Well, I got 15 minutes before I got to go and do my testing. But yeah, it was pretty great. Was Linda still on there? I guess not.
She's probably listening.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Maybe.
I can't figure out her audio on hers. She's so loud. I don't know if she hears that or because Zoom adjusts the audio really differently. You have to actually set the audio up or turn it up or down before you connect.
Oh, okay.
In the settings a lot of times, and then go with that. There's a thing in there that says something like, do you want to use original sound? And that'll allow you to adjust the sound that you hear, because their channels are different. The sound that I send is adjusted by you, and the sound you send that I receive, I have to set before I open my iPad. So it gets a little nuts, but
yeah,
It works. Well, let me put. You do have your. Did you get your badges from? You've had your badge from the ARRL, right? Because yours is in official color designation, right?
Yeah, I have, how many colors do I have? I have orange, I have white, I think it's blue, I think I have 4 or 5 different colors, and then I have yellow. But then I do have the wooden badge and the plastic version for the club too. And with a wooden one, had secretary put on it.
Oh, for the
So
club secretary.
yeah, I figured I'll probably have this for a while.
Yeah. Well, there's yeah,
It's
because
already been like 15 years, I think.
yeah, it kind of worries me because you know, if we do grow, which I
Yeah.
hope we need this, we need to get some redundancy built up so that if
Yeah.
I'm not around, somebody else knows
Yeah.
what to do, and it can go on. You know, I guess that was, you know, when I was in the service, you always knew somebody's job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. It's, well, like at work, I mean, before, I mean, when I was by myself, I was kind of, you know, now we have 2 of us here, and are just each one of it. There's some things that are a little different that we have to be involved in.
yeah,
So
I think that's something that maybe the board should look at. You know, at least in my case, which being my family's changing right now, and things are going to change for me. I'm looking for a vacation to see what happens, and I know in the next year, next school, things will be different. I'm okay health wise or anything like that. That's not the object, and I'm not club or anything. But we need to get a redundant thing so that nothing. It'll go on. It will go on. So, but
now we can do a lot of things remotely too.
Yeah.
I mean, the company I work for, actually, the address is in New Jersey, but the president is in New York somewhere. There's another guy, he lives in Maryland, DC. Another guy's down in Florida. One guy from DC area is down here in West Virginia, but he's actually doing some coverage like this evening for a place in California.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had one experience with that with a lab in Florida in Lauderdale. They developed a patent. I forget who originally held the patent on a dressing for eye surgeons that kept the area around the eye moist so it wouldn't dry out ever. And the lab was there. And but the other guys were, one guy was in Boston, the other guy was in Chicago and Pittsburgh. And I did that with them for a while, you know, that I just set up a GoDaddy account and so that they could bounce around and share. They had to be classified stuff because of the copyright on the device. This guy held the copyright to it. And I can't think of who he worked for originally. It was a company that we'd never think got involved in this. They got out of the biomedical part of this product, and he was leaving, and he offered to buy the rights to it. And they said, "Oh, sure, no problem." and they signed it over to him, and that he started the own little lab. But that's what they did. They supplied this covering that eye surgeons would use. Oh, and the other guy was in Akron. That's right.
Oh, wow.
So, and the two of them would travel to Florida once in a while, but otherwise, they didn't have to be there all the time.
Yeah.
He and his partner did the research down there, and all I did was, if they got in a jam, sometimes I would translate files for them.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I wrote this in Word 2000, but I can't open it. I said, yeah, that's one of the things with Word 2000 is they went nuts, and I said, upgrade your Word product and you'll be fine. And I'll make sure I would, it was crazy. I could open it in my Mac, resave it, send it back to them. I said, now it'll go fine. I said, just check the layout. I said, I didn't change any words, but I remember that product that Microsoft came out with. I'm not sure why they did it, but it just wouldn't read all of the different forms of Word at the time. Now I think that they do it. So I don't know who else is out there. We got 6 people, but I'm not sure who's here. Either you and me, I think.
Yeah, and then Linda, Tim, Barney, and Josh are no video.
Well, it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to turn into a pumpkin too.
Oh, it is.
Time for me to go.
It looks very light there.
Outside, it's that's my screen thing. Let me show.
Oh, that's not real.
No, I'll turn that off for a sec. There you go. Let me get. I lose. Still with me?
Yeah, I still see you there.
Okay. Let me switch this around. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Oh,
down
okay.
there. This was when they were talking about the ISS. This is the feed I have. This is the only project I did with a Pi. This is the North Pacific that they're flying over now. That's the international.
Have you had that for a while?
Yeah.
I think when I was over there, I saw it. I think you had it.
Yeah, it just sits there. I love it. I just run it in the background, and as I go by, we can watch things, docking or special events.
Yeah.
But still daylight here, but it's kind of weak.
It's getting dark. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so just sunset.
The sun's setting back there through the trees. This is looking out the back porch. So we've got a little bit of light left, but not much.
Yeah.
And then it's cooled down quite a bit. Well, with that, we'll say adios.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go grab something to eat, and then I'll be up at work 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh boy. Talk to you Thursday.
We'll see you. See you, Tom.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to get off Zoom unless you want to tell me anything there. Okay, comma. I'm leaving the Zoom now.